أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين وحجته في العالمين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه فداء واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم وغاصبي حقوقهم وجاحدي مناقبهم ومنكري فضائلهم من الآن إلى أبد الآبدين. Welcome back, and I thank you for watching this show. May Allah bless you all, and I give you the greetings of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us good health and success in life and help us to live prosperous and God-fearing, Allah-fearing lives, inshallah. So the topic I've chosen for today's discussion is the idea of Islamic revolutions or Islamic revolution. This idea does not need much explanation. What I mean by it, it means that certain individuals, they have revolutionary fervor, and perhaps they intend to better the situation of the people and relieve people from tyranny and despotism, perhaps, and bring down the current structure that's dominant in the society and replace it with an Islamic structure of government. A government that is based in accordance to the laws of Islam and the teachings of Islam and the commandments of Allah and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and in the case of the Shia, the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam. That would be called an Islamic revolution. Is that a good idea? Is that a legitimate idea? Is that something that's sanctioned by Islam? So, obviously, as you know, there are two main branches in Islam. One is the Shia Islam, and the other is non-Shia Islam, which is generally referred to as the Sunni Islam. I would be talking in the context of Shia Islam, in the light of the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam. And I'm not going to focus what an Islamic revolution would be and what its legitimacy is in the light of the non-Shia worldview and the Sunni branch of Islam. But I would just refer that it would be strictly forbidden. And the Sunni religion, it would be strictly forbidden to stage an uprising, to lead a revolution, or to be involved in a revolution against a current ruler, even if he is corrupt, even if he's a tyrant, even if he is oppressive. So no matter how oppressive your rulers are, you have to tolerate, you have to endure, and you have to obey them. That would be the Sunni perspective on the matter. But my focus would be in the Shia side. What do the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalatu wassalam say in this regard? And what is their enlightenment on this topic? And that's what should be important for the Shia. So, first and foremost, we have to bear in mind that is utterly dishonest and wrong and false and disingenuous and a betrayal of the trust of the people to make up things and allege them to Islam and attribute them to religion. That would be with any religion or with any historical event, that if something is not within the realm of that religion or that school of thought, and you make up things and then you allege falsely that these are the teachings of this person or this school of thought, that's obviously very dishonest. and that undermines the trust of people. When we are talking about Islam and specifically the Shia Islam, so obviously we Shias, we believe that the authority is God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. And he has appointed his messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as the teacher, as the guide for mankind. And after him, the 12 Imams, alayhim salam, who are the guides of humanity until the day of judgment. That is the Shia belief. Now, whatever they have taught, that is Shia Islam. And if something they have not taught, and you make it up, and you fabricate it, and then you attribute it to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, to Shia Islam, to religion, that's very disingenuous, and that is very dishonest, and that's very wrong. That's obvious. And that's what innovation is. In religious context, innovation or bid'ah is something that's alien to the teaching of the founder of religion. It doesn't emanate from the divine source. It has been later come up with, it has later been innovated, created, and then falsely entered into religious relics and attributed to religion. That's what innovation is. And it's frowned upon in Islam, severely frowned upon, and is strictly forbidden. Now, when you're talking about Islamic revolution, and this obviously this premise that I put forward to you is quite clear. I don't need to really establish this further to prove to you that being disingenuous and making up false things and calling them ijtihad is wrong. So that you should agree with me. If you disagree later, perhaps you can call and let me know that no, that's fine. But I doubt anybody would say that this is fine. So when we are talking about the Islamic revolution, if we say it's Islamic, to rise up against a current dominant government and topple that government and then try to establish something in its place. So this should come from either from Allah or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Otherwise, that's alien to Shia Islam, and that would be innovation. And that could be a good idea or a bad idea, but it's not part of Islam's teaching. On its own right, it has to be part of Hadith or Quran. Otherwise, it's not part of Shia Islam. Of course, that is for those people who want to be honest with Islam. But people who allow ulama to make up things and call them ijtihad, then there is no limits to what they can create. Because as soon as you open this door, that scholars and ulama can make things up, can fabricate elements in religion and tenets and faith, and then attribute them and add them to Islam, obviously, then the number of tenets you could add, anything could be added to Islam. But if any person is honest with his heart, with his faith, with his conscience, he would realize what I'm saying is true, that the scholars are not allowed to add anything to Islam. In any science, in any branch of knowledge, not just Islam, anywhere you go. For instance, if we study the history of the United States, who was George Washington? If a historian would make up things, ideas, values that George Washington did not believe in, and today you come and attribute to George Washington, what's that called? That's called fabrication of history. That is dishonesty. That everybody would disown such a historian, right? Such a writer. Like Shakespeare was a great poet. Now, if today someone comes and makes his own poetry and then, or uses ChatGPT to create something that's similar to Shakespeare and then says, okay, Shakespeare wrote this. So that's dishonesty. This is not just with Islam, it's everywhere. Everywhere. If I did not write a book, if I did not say certain things, if certain ideas and values I did not uphold, and you come and attribute them to me falsely, that is wrong. That's lying. That's betrayal of people's trust in you. And scholars should not engage in that. But that's a very common practice in Islam. Very common. Very common. And that's called ijtihad. That the scholars do ijtihad and they come up with insane ideas that are totally opposite to teachings of Islam, and they're attributed to Islam in the name of ijtihad. So now we come to Islamic revolution. That you stage a coup, do you stage an uprising against a system of government in order to replace it, perhaps with a better system of government, which you will call Islamic. This idea, what position does it hold in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam? So the criterion for anything being, in the Shiite perspective, being legitimate would be it has to have its foundation, it has to emanate from the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Otherwise, it's not legitimate. So in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam, not only there's no encouragement, there's not a single commandment to their Shias that they should rally and try to topple a government and establish a government. There's not a single hadith, even weak in the Shia chronology of hadith. Not only that, there are scores of ahadith, commandments from the holy Imams alayhim salam, that strictly forbid the Shia from engaging in any rebellion against any government, no matter how oppressive that government is. So that is the teaching of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And that really defines and establishes the value of Islamic revolutions. So Islamic revolutions have no place in Shia Islam and Shia faith per the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. But this is not absolute. This has a limitation, an expiry date, until the coming of the Messiah. Whether the Messiah is Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam or Jesus Christ or both of them, the term Messiah is not really defined in Shia Islam, right? In Islam. But that reliever, which is Jesus alayhi salam, is a reliever of pains, and also Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wassalam. And we revere both of them. But of course, the greater personality is Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. Until that time, Shias are not allowed to make an uprising. And so that's very important to pay attention to if you want to follow Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, if you want to be honest to your faith, if you want to really honestly understand the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam with regard to making uprisings against governments. Khomeini did make an uprising, but that was a singular event in Shia history. If you go back before Khomeini, there were great scholars before Khomeini. Khomeini himself was not a great scholar. He was not particularly very accomplished in his learnings. As a matter of fact, Khomeini was quite weak in his learnings and his scholarship. But there have been great scholars before Khomeini with extensive learning, with very wide areas of expertise in Islamic sciences. And they have never engaged in any Islamic revolution. No question, they were pious and God-fearing. No questions. They understood the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. They never engaged in any uprising. Rather, they never, in their teachings, in their books, in their vast encyclopedias of works, in which they touched almost any conceivable situation, they never commanded the Shia or encouraged the Shia that is per direction of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam. You have to make an uprising to try to establish an Islamic government. And then what is an Islamic government? So you make an uprising, you topple the current system, and your intention is to replace it with a government that's Islamic. So a government that's Islamic, what does that mean? It means that its structure and its laws come from Allah, come from God, right? It's not man-made. These are not man-made rules and laws. How ridiculous. That's so funny. That's such an insane thing. That's such a comical tragedy that you would establish an Islamic government. Okay, let's go to Islam. I'm a researcher in Islam. I've spent many, many years of my life studying Islam, as has done many, many other researchers and scholars who are more learned than I am. Now let's go to the books of Islam. Where would you find those teachings? Where? In Quran or Hadith? There are instructions, there are laws. That how would the structure of Islamic government be? There is none, absolutely absent. Just as there is no instructions in Quran and Hadith how to make a spaceship, there are no instructions in that regard, right? Just as there are no instructions in Quran and Hadith how to explore interstellar distances. Likewise, there is no instruction, no laws with regard to Islamic governments. Absolutely absent, absolute vacuum of laws and rules and encouragement of people to try to establish Islamic governments. So this paradox, this very comical, tragic, funny, stupid, insane paradox that you see that Muslims are engaged in, and especially in Muslim countries, these movements, brutal movements, bloody movements, that has taken hundreds of thousands of lives, if not millions, just in our lifetime, in the current era. And the purpose of these movements are what? Their purpose, their target is to establish Islamic government, an elusive term, that such a monster doesn't exist. There's no such thing as Islamic government. Absolutely not. Not with the Islam that we have. Not per Quran that we have, not in the hadith that we have. You can make things up, of course. There are no limits to your imagination. You can sit down and imagine things. You can imagine good laws and write them down, but those would be the figments of your imagination. Those laws and those rules would be something man-made that you made him up. And it would be very disingenuous and dishonest of you. The things that you made up by sitting in your living room and thinking and pondering and cogitating, that you took a sheet of paper and you wrote a constitution for a government and then attributing that to God Almighty or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the holy imams. So the problem with Islamic revolution are twofolds. First, whether Shia Islam or Sunni Islam, revolutions are forbidden. It's strictly forbidden. And second, for what purpose? We are going to, throw down this government in order to replace it with an Islamic government. And now, how do you make Islamic government? Nobody knows. You don't know. Nobody knows what an Islamic government is. There are no laws in Quran and Sunnah for Islamic government. And this is quite clear. If anybody, it's just, why nobody points this out? Well, people have pointed this out often in the past, but their voices are muffled because, at least in the Shia world, because the Iranian government is so powerful. They control the pulpits, they control the masajid, they control the organizations, they control religious media, they control all the madrasas everywhere. And people are very, very scared of the Islamic Republic of Iran to voice any opposition to their interpretation of Shia Islam. Okay. Now, my challenge to those viewers who oppose my assertions is that please bring forward those statements of the holy imams alayhimus salatu wassalam that you have come across, in which they encourage their Shia, or at least allow and permit their Shia to topple a government. Let me see where they are. Yeah, there's a narration in Nahj al-Balagha, وَكُونُوا لِلظَّالِمِ خَصْمًا وَلِلْمَظْلُومِ عَوْنًا. Be an enemy of the oppressor, and be a friend and be a helper to the oppressed. True. We have to despise oppression. We cannot be supporters of tyrannies and despots, of course. I agree to that. But to despise and disdain an oppressor is not tantamount to leading an uprising against them, to lead jihad against them. And now, let me explain something very clearly. That I don't mean that these things are absolute. When I say there is no concept of Islamic government in Shia Islam, or likewise in the Umari Islam and the non-Shia Islam, I don't mean it's absolute. There's the concept of imama, right? We have imama in Islam and Shia Islam. We don't have government in Shia Islam. And when the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam comes, of course, there will be a revolution. There will be an uprising, a global one, to uproot all oppression from the earth once and for all. And he will establish Islamic government. But these things are reserved for him and not for us. Okay. Now, let me show you some ahadith. I said that we follow Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. And in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, there's not a single instance in which they have commanded their Shia to lead uprisings against their regimes that are ruling them. And they have never explained, Aimma alayhim as-salam, the holy Imams alayhim as-salam, have explained what are the structures of an Islamic government, except that at its head would be an absolute dictator, a benevolent, kind, divinely wise dictator who is the holy Imam alayhi salam. That's all we know. That he, as time comes when he will establish his government, he will form that government, and he will have oversight over all aspects of that government. That's all we know about Islamic government. And he's infallible, and he knows all rules of Allah, and he knows all the perils, all the dangers for mankind, and everything that's negative and bad. He knows them beforehand. So he's the perfect leader, compassionate, God-fearing, brave, and most critically important, that he knows what is good for every subject in his domain, for every person, what is good, what's to their benefit. So, and when we come to the secular world, to those leaders who are not divinely appointed, they do not have such knowledge. They do not know the names of their subjects. They would hardly know the names of the regions, right? Name of every town and every village in their domain. But the Imam alayhi salam knows what is good for every person, every individual, every animal in his domain. And he would know that beforehand, what problems are going to arise and what their solutions are. And those solutions could be political, those problems could be political, militaristic, or those problems could be scientific. It could be a plague, it could be something biological. He knows them and he has solutions for them. So he is the manifestation of divine knowledge, of divine might, of divine power. So such a person is, of course, if you get a dictator like that, please, by all means, make him the king, make him the absolute monarch of all kingdoms. That would be so good for mankind. Everybody would concur. Everybody would agree, right? But if you don't have such a person, and you want to put in his place a mullah, a bloody mullah in his place, a bloody stinking mullah in his place, and you think that mullah would fulfill his capacity, his role for 1 second, then you must be insane. Mullahs are the most, what should I say? Incompetent beings. I shouldn't say the most incompetent, but one of the most incompetent class of people in the world. Mullahs cannot run anything. They cannot run a store. They can't do anything, mullahs. I've been to those madrasas that train mullahs. I've studied there and I know them very well. Mullahs are not good for anything. They're bad for Islam, for Shiism, for everything. So now let's go. On the one hand, you don't have, the topic is Islamic revolutions, right? On the one hand, you don't have a single instance in which the holy Imams alayhim salatu wassalam have encouraged their Shias that they have to rise up and they have to have revolutionary fervor and revolutionary ambitions, and they have to topple governments and establish Islamic governments, and they have to fight the West and the East and all kuffar, right? There is no such thing from Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasalam. All verses of jihad, the holy war and the noble Quran, they are conditional to the presence of the holy Imam alayhi salam. So you cannot have jihad without an infallible leader, a divinely appointed leader. You can't. It's forbidden. Just like drinking blood is forbidden, just like drinking wine is forbidden. Likewise, jihad is forbidden in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam. Not in one hadith or two hadith, in many, many hadith. So on the one hand, you don't have any instruction to lead a revolution. While on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have many, many ahadith forbidding rising up against any ruler until when? Until when the Imam alayhi salam rises, until when Sufyani rises. Until that time, it's strictly forbidden. So what do you do? If you are following the Shia faith, your pathway, your way forward is quite clear. Now, the counter argument to this is Mukhtar. Oh, Mukhtar made an uprising, he led a revolution. What do you say about him? Mukhtar was not Shia. Mukhtar, there's no hadith that says he was Shia. There are hadith which clearly state that he was not Shia. Okay, Mukhtar was not Shia. So Mukhtar is not your role model. And then also the example is given of Sufyani and Khurasani. Okay, they will make an uprising. Yes, they will make an uprising, but they will make the uprising at the time when the prohibition for making an uprising, it has expired. Hadith says that you cannot make a revolution, that you cannot engage in an uprising until the coming of Sufyani. Khurasani and Yamani will come at the same time that Sufyani will come. So their revolution, their uprising, their rebellion would be contemporaneous with the rebellion of Sufyani. So those examples fail to establish any precedent for this purpose. Now let me share with you some of the ahadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam. And also another example is given as Zayd ibn Ali ibn al-Hussein alayhi salam. Oh, Zayd ibn Ali made an uprising. Okay, yeah, true. Zayd led a rebellion against Bani Umayyah, but he was clearly forbidden. He did that in defiance of the Imam alayhi salam. Al-Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam clearly, not in one hadith, in more than one hadith. Al-Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam forbade and prohibited his brother Zayd from making an uprising. He defied his brother, he defied the Imam. So Zayd's example is not for you to follow. And not a single follower of Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam was amongst the people who followed Zayd. Not a single. Shias did not follow Zayd. Shias did not support Zayd. Who supported Zayd? Yeah, the Umaris, people of Kufa. Okay, so these are very brief statements. Obviously, on these subjects, I've made extensive lectures in the past, right? Mostly in Persian and Arabic, but very few in Urdu. But you're welcome anytime to challenge me on any of these statements. Now I'll share with you some ahadith which clearly forbid engaging in a revolution before the coming of Sufyani. This is Al-Rawda min al-Kafi lil-Kulayni rahimahullah, volume number 8. This is page number 295. Al-Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam says, كل راية ترفع قبل قيام القائم عليه السلام. Any standard that is raised, any banner that's held up as a sign of uprising, a sign of an army that is marching towards the capital to conquer the capital and topple the government. Any banner that is raised before the coming of Al-Qa'im alayhi salam, Al-Imam Al-Hujja alayhi salam, وَعَجَّلَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى فَرَجَهُ الشَّرِيفِ فَصَاحِبُهَا طَاغُوتٌ. The leader of this banner, the leader of this standard is himself Satan, Taghut. He is the Satan, he's the devil. يُعْبَدُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. His followers are worshipping him in place. His followers are worshipping this devil instead of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that establishes any person, كل راية, every and each banner that is lifted, that's raised before the coming of the Holy Imam alayhi salam. Its leader is the Taghut. Its followers are worshipping of shaitan, of devil. Now that establishes very clearly where Khomeini, lovers of Khomeini, devotees of Khamenei, where they are in life, right? Where they are in religion. And who Khomeini himself is. Long time ago, when I was in Najaf al-Ashraf, one of the famous Maraji of Najaf, I don't mention his name now, in a private meeting, I was aware before meeting him, I was aware of these ahadith. In a private meeting, there were 3 of us there, me, him, and another scholar. And he mentioned these ahadith. And he said before the revolution, in the 1970s, when Khomeini was in Najaf, he said we brought to his attention these ahadith, that what you're doing is forbidden, it's strictly haram, what you're engaging in, that you are trying to topple the Shah. This is strictly forbidden. And he said, his response was, Kallash Daghut, Sarash Namishut. He said that Khomeini was hard-headed. He couldn't understand what we were saying. He didn't comprehend what we were saying. Khomeini was hard-headed revolutionary, and he wouldn't even contemplate these ahadith. At any rate, this is As-Sahifa As-Sajjadiyya, the book of du'as, supplications by Al-Imam Ali ibn al-Husayn Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, published in مؤسسة العالمي للمطبوعات Beirut. Page number 26 says الإمام جعفر الصادق عليه السلام ما خرج ولا يخرج منا أهل البيت إلى قيام قائمنا أحد. Not a person has made an uprising, nor a person will make an uprising from us أهل البيت عليهم السلام before the coming of Al-Qa'im عليه السلام ليدفع ظلما, in order to repel an oppression, أو ينعش حقا, or to revive a right, in order to correct a wrong and revive a right. إلا اصطلمته البلية, except that he would be devoured, that he would be overwhelmed by tragedies and calamities and failure. وكان قيامه زيادة في مكروهنا وشيعتنا, and his revolution would lead to further suffering of us and further suffering of our Shia. So any revolution that takes place within the Shia realm, that's its fate, that it will be devoured by calamities and tragedies, and it will be overwhelmed by failures, and it will have more negative and unpleasant consequences both for Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam and for the Shia. And those of us who have clearly observed the revolution in Iran could testify to this miracle of Imam alayhi salam, this statement of Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, 1,300 years before the Khomeini's revolution, is such a prescient and such a divinely inspired prophecy that clearly states the current status of Iran and its fake revolution, fake Islamic revolution. And this also, to further my point, this also establishes my point that Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam did not lead a revolution. And I'm delivering some sermons and lectures on that subject currently in Urdu. This is the book of Al-Rawda min al-Kafi lil-Kulayni rahimahullah, volume number 8. Here. Page number 264. Ali ibn al-Husayn alayhi salam, our fourth Imam, Al-Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, says, وَاللَّهِ لَا يَخْرُجُ وَاحِدٌ مِنَّا قَبْلَ خُرُوجِ الْقَائِمِ alayhi salam. I take a sacred oath by Allah. No one from us makes an uprising before the rise of Al-Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. إلا كان مثله مثل فرخ طار من وكره قبل أن يستوي جناحه فأخذه الصبيان فعبثوا به. Except that his example would be the example of a fledgling bird, the baby bird, who has tried to fly off its nest before its wing being strong enough. So a baby bird whose wings are not strong enough to fly makes an effort to fly. So he gets off the nest, but he falls on the street, on the ground. And kids pick him up and start playing with him. So that's the example of anyone trying to make an uprising before the coming of the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. Within the Shia realm, right? قال أبو عبد الله عليه السلام يا سدير ألزم بيتك وكن حلسا من أحلاسه. الإمام عليه السلام, الإمام جعفر الصادق عليه السلام said to Sadir, Sadir, stay in your house, do not engage in uprisings, and be a blanket in your house, or be a rug in your house. Be stationary, do not make movements, do not engage in opposition to governments. Of course, opposition, that's an uprising. Opposition in terms of doing Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi anil Munkar, trying to reform governments, trying to admonish governments, trying to guide them, trying to advise them so their rulers act better. That's, of course, that's never frowned upon. That's not discouraged. If it works, of course, then that's an obligation that we have to engage in. So we are here when we are saying it's what's strictly forbidden is to lead a revolution or engage in a revolution against a dominant system of government. To try to do Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi anil Munkar, enjoin to good, and discourage from the bad. To try to advise and pressure the governments to reform, that's encouraged. Shias are encouraged to do that if it works, if it has influence. Okay. وَاسْكُنْ مَا سَكَنَ اللَّيْلُ وَالنَّهَارِ. Be stationary so long as you do not hear the call from the heavens, and you do not hear about the news of an army being devoured by earth. So what is the call from the heavens? The call from the heavens is before the rise of the Imam alayhi salatu wasallam, when Sufyani uprised, make an uprising. At that time, people will hear a call from the heavens that al-haqqu fi aliyin wa shi'atih, right? And what is the news of an army being devoured? That is when Sufyani's army would be devoured by earth in Al-Bayda near Mecca. Okay. So until that time, the coming of Sufyani, stay in your house. Do not engage in rebellions, no matter how many revolutionary movements come and go, and no matter how fervent their speeches are and how emotional they get and how appealing their message may sound to you. Do not join them. Do not be part of them. فإذا بلغك أن السفياني قد خرج فارحل إلينا ولو على رجلك. And when you hear the news that Sufyani has come, then come to our army. At that time, there will be an army of ours waiting for you, and that you have the obligation to join. And then you have to come to us, march to us, even if you have to walk. Okay. This is عيون أخبار الرضا, volume number 1. This is by Sheikh Saduq Azino. Volume number 1, page 310. Okay. Let's scroll down. Here we go. Hussein ibn Khalid al-Kufi says that I said to Al-Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, the 8th Imam, جُعِلْتُ فِدَاكَ, may I be your ransom. حديث كان يرويه عبد الله ibn Bukayr عن عبيد ibn Zurara. There's a hadith that Ubayd ibn Zurara narrates. Imam alayhi salam said, what's the hadith? He said that Ubayd ibn Zurara narrates from Al-Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. And he met him at the year when his cousin, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, cousin, Ibrahim ibn Abdullah ibn al-Hassan, he was one of the Zaydi Imams. He had led a revolution. He had led a rebellion against Bani Abbas. So he met him at this year when there was rebellions going on. فقال له Ubayd ibn Zurara said to Al-Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, جعلت فداك, may I die for you, may I be your ransom, may I be a sacrifice for you. إن هذا قد ألف الكلام, this person has compiled a good message, a very appealing message. Who? The Zaydi Imam, the cousin of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, the fake Imam. He has come up with quite a fervent and emotional and appealing and exciting message. وقد سارع الناس إليه, and people have joined his movement in haste. Masses have started following him. So he's a very exciting leader, young man, that's promising people a very divine government and a government of justice and equity and rule of Islam and Sharia. And people have said, Labbaik, we are ready to follow you. فَمَا الَّذِي تَأْمُرُ بِهِ, what do you say? What is your command? What do you say in this regard? What should we do? فَقَالْ اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاسْكُنُوا مَا سَكَنَتِ السَّمَاءُ وَالْأَرْضِ. Al-Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam said, now, have fear of God. Have fear of God and stay away from these people. Have fear of God. Waskunu, stay stationary. Stay calm. Stay in your place. Do not join these revolutionary movements. Stay stationary as long as you do not hear the call from the heavens and you do not hear about the devouring of an army by earth. So, ma sakanat as-sama wal ard. Stay stationary as long as the heavens and the earth are stationary. That's the literal meaning of this hadith. Literal. So he says, this person says to Imam Raza alayhi salatu wasalam, Abdullah ibn Bukayr used to say, Wallahi la in kana Ubayd ibn Zurara sadiqun fama min khurujin wa ma min qaib. So one of our fellow Shias, he would say that because Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam said, that as long as the earth and the heavens are stationary, they have not make a movement, you do not make a movement. You do not move. Do not join any revolutions. And we know the heavens and the earth they're not going to move. They are not going to make a movement. So that means there will never be a revolution. Ever. And there is no qaim. That's what it means. Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam says, do not make a move. Do not join any rebellion until the heavens are quiet. You don't see anything, any movement, any action from the heavens. And you do not see the earth move from its place. Okay. Because those things are not going to happen. Heavens are not going to move and the earth is not going anywhere. So there's no revolution, there's no qaim. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam has given a commandment to wait and to endure suffering until when? Until a time that's never ending. فقال لي أبو الحسن عليه السلام, الإمام الرضا عليه السلام said, إن الحديث على ما رواه عبيد وليس على ما تأوله عبد الله ibn Bukayr. He said the hadith is correct. However, Abdullah ibn Bukayr, your fellow Shia, he has not understood the meaning of hadith. He has failed to comprehend what Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam means. I asked him, what did he mean? Do not join any rebellion until as long as the earth and the heavens are stationary. He said, ما سكنت السماء من النداء باسم صاحبكم وما سكنت الأرض من الخسف بالجيش. Imam Rida alayhi salam said, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam meant this. Do not join any rebellions until the heavens do not call out the name of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Until you do not hear the sayha, right before the rise of Sufyani or the time of the rise of Sufyani. The heavens will call out that al-haqqu fi aliyin wa shi'atih. And by the movement of earth, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam meant that the army of Sufyani will be devoured and will sink into earth in Bayda. So until these two things happen, just wait. Do not join any rebellions. This is volume number 8 of Al-Kafi, published in Dar al-Kutub al-Islamiyya. Page number 273, hadith number 411. Abu al-Murhif narrates from Al-Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam. قال الغبرة على من أثارها. Al-Ghabara, dust. So in the old days when battles were fought in battlefields and armies used to face each other, and there were horses charging and there were people charging at each other. And as you know, there's no grass in the Middle East, right? The earth is pretty dry. So when armies fought, there would be a lot of dust that will go up. Dust will be whipped up into the air. So that's what would happen with battles. Al-ghabaratu ala man atharaha. The dust settles on the person who stirs up dust. The dust. So this is an expression. This is a parable kind of statement. Al-ghabaratu ala man atharaha. The dust settles on a person who stirs it up. What does it mean? It means the consequences of war and battle is faced by the person who engages in battle. If you engage in a battle, if you cause a war, and of course, then you have to bear these consequences. So, in other words, the wraths of governments, the unleash of anger and torment and persecution of governments would be targeted against the person who forms an opposition against the governments, who leads a rebellion against the government. You understand? Al-ghabaratu ala man atharaha. The dust of war settles on the person who engages in war, in battle. Halak al-mahadhir. Halak al-mahadhir. Destroyed are the hasty ones. Destroyed are the hasteners. The hasteners are vanquished. قلت جعلت فداك وما المحاذير. I said, may I be your ransom. May I be your sacrifice. May I die for your sake. What are mahadhir? What are the hasteners? Al-mahadhir, literally in Arabic language, means those stallions that are used in battles for charging. They run fast. Swift horses. Halak al-mahadhir means the swift horses are vanquished. But Imam alayhi salam doesn't mean horses. It means people who hasten, people who hurry, the people who cannot wait. I asked him, who are the swift horses? What do you mean by swift horses? He said, al-musta'jilun. He said those who hasten, those who are hasty ones, those who are hasteners. أما إنهم لن يريدوا إلا من يعرض لهم. Beware that governments do not unleash their wrath except on those people whom make a problem for the government, who engage in opposition to government, who rally in opposition to government. If you do not mess with governments, they're not going to come after you and persecute you. So at that time, it was Bani Umayyah and then Bani Abbas, and they were very, very, especially at the time of Imam Baqir alayhi salam, they were Bani Umayyah, and they were very oppressive. So Imam alayhi salatu wasalam is admonishing his Shia not to bother with the governments, not to irritate and not to agitate the governments. Ama innahum lan yuridu. Beware that they do not target anyone except those except those who cause agitation against the governments. ثم قال, then he said, يا أبا المرهف أما إنهم لم يريدوكم بمجحفة إلا عرض الله عز وجل لهم بشاغل. He says it's the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when governments, they want to unleash a calamity against the Shia, when they want to target the Shia for massive persecutions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings forth a diversion for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entangles them in something that would take away their resources from persecuting the Shia. So they will not persecute you. They will be preoccupied always when they try to persecute you. They will be something will come up that will preoccupy them. Just don't make yourself their target. ثم نكت أبو جعفر عليه السلام في الأرض. Then the Imam عليه السلام, scratched the earth. ثم قال يا أبا المرهف. Then he said, يا أبا المرهف. قلت لبيك. I said, here I am. He said, أترى قوما حبسوا أنفسهم على الله عز ذكره لا يجعل الله لهم فرجا. Don't you think if some people, they endure pain and they endure suffering for the sake of pleasure of Allah, because it was the command of Allah for them to wait and endure and tolerate, that Allah, that do you think such people, Allah will forget them and Allah will not open a way of relief for them? Allah will not provide uh, or bring forth a dawn of relief for them. بَلَا وَاللَّهِ لَيَجْعَلَنَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ فَرَجًا. Indeed, if a person or if a group of people, they endure suffering for the sake of Allah, Allah indeed does not forget them, and those moments of suffering will pass, and Allah Ta'ala will bring forth a way out for them, a way to relief out of those pains. Okay. So as you see, there are many ahadith, and these ahadith are tremendous. These ahadith are extensive. And I've just shown you some of them, these ahadith. So you have two interpretations on this, two instances, two points of view with respect to revolutions within the Shia realm, within the Shia faith. One is that's promoted extensively in our current era. One that is championed by the Islamic government of Iran, so Islamic in quotations. And that has become pretty much the official version of Shiism now. In our lifetime, that's the recognized version of Shia religion globally. That Shiism as a revolutionary religion, it's not even a religion anymore. It's a political movement. It's an international political enterprise, right? That supports China and Russia against the United States. Yeah, right. That Shias, wherever they are, they have to be part of this revolution, at the helm of which used to sit Khomeini, now Khamenei, and Shias have no greater obligation than to be part of this revolution, a worldwide revolution, to topple government after government, and to form an Islamic empire. A revolution with the target of creating Islamic government. Of course, the Islamic government has already, according to this version, already been established in Iran. And any new government that you will establish, it will be a subservient. It will be like a dominion to Khamenei. So that's one version. This version is just made up, just fake propaganda. Just slogans, no hadith, no verse of the Noble Quran, nothing. It doesn't have any foundation in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. It's a farce, and it's a falsification, a false attribution to Shiism. The only thing that justifies this is people's trust on their scholars. People have been led to believe that they cannot understand Islam because Islam is so complex. Ahadith are so difficult to understand. And it's only scholars who engage in Hawza studies for tens of years, decades, that they can understand Islam. And they interpret Islam. So their ijtihad has led to these conclusions that it's an obligation to make uprisings, revolutions against governments. So that's Shiism, that's it. Who needs imams, and who needs Quran, and who needs Sunnah, who needs Hadith, right? That's all redundant. So that's one version. The other version has been the traditional stance of Shia scholars for centuries, since the times of the holy Imams alayhim assalam. Not engaging in any revolution, and doing sabr, and doing taqiyya, and at different junctions to advise governments and pressure them and lobby them and do amr bil ma'ruf nahy anil munkar. Try to convince them to reform. Try to convince them to act better. That's the other version. And this version says that you cannot engage in a revolution, and it's strictly forbidden, and it's haram. And this is based on pristine teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. What I've presented to you, these are not fake hadith. These are not books that I've faked in Adobe Acrobat or in Photoshop. These are genuine hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And of course, the revolutionary camp, they can never answer. You can never hold them to answer your questions. Never. They will never sit down to face these hard questions. That how do you respond to these teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? Mr. Khomeini has led a revolution that has caused hundreds of thousands of people to die only in the Iran-Iraq war on the Iranian side. Just people who are fatally shot, not all the casualties, just the people who were killed. Their number is 265,000 people on the Iranian side. On the Iraqi side, probably more. And people who were wounded, they are in the millions. Households that were destroyed, lives that were destroyed, just in the Iran-Iraq war, and millions, right? And until today, the Shia world is bleeding heavily because of the Islamic revolution in Iran. So on what was your basis, Khomeini? On what basis? You called your revolution Islamic, and you assumed that this was part of the teachings of Shia religion to try to topple the Pahlavi dynasty, although it was very corrupt and very secular, and yeah, all those things were true. But what was your justification? If you ask them, they will never face these questions. They will always evade these questions because they have no answer for them. Okay, thank you so much. May Allah bless you. Allah keep you well. Now I'll take your question. You can ask me questions on this subject or any other question, inshallah, any other topic. So I have Abu Salman here. Okay, Abu Salman. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you?
Good. How you doing, brother? Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Montreal, Canada.
Montreal.
I'm Lebanese. So
may God
so
bless
this
you.
subject,
May Allah keep you well. Yeah.
You as well, Sheikh Abu Ali.
Thank you, sir.
So since I'm Lebanese, I think this subject is very important for me. So I have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
I'm on your opinion as well that Wilayat al-Faqih was a disaster for the Shia since its establishment. But I have a couple of questions that always comes up when discussing this with brothers and friends. So, for example, let's start with this. So we had a couple of, let's say, Shia states in the past. Most of them, they're not 12 or Shia state, but one of them was the Safawi state of Shah Ismail. So how do you explain that great scholar like Al-Hur al-Amili and Al-Majlisi were Sheikh al-Islam in those state and didn't oppose the Safavi Sultan to
Safavids never claimed that they have the same position to rule as Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, like Khamenei claims. Safavid were a monarchy. Then their place was known for everyone in history, right? That they came to power by force, by brute force, not through Islamic legitimacy. Not like Khomeini, that he says, I have a right, Khomeini's Wilayat al-Faqih says he has the right to rule all over the world, because he represents God. That is what Khamenei says as well, that he is the rep of God, because he is the deputy to 12 Imam alayhi salam, and 12 Imam alayhi salatu wasalam has appointed him as deputy, therefore, and the 12th Imam is the rep of God, representative of God, therefore, he is the representative of God on earth, and he has the divine mandate to rule everywhere, over Moscow, over London, over Montreal, and over Tehran. And his government is the same as the government of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam, and his wilayah is the same as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So this is a blasphemy. This is an innovation. So This is an affront to Quran and Sunnah and the Imam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasalam. The Safavids were not as such. Safavids never claimed that. Safavids, they all knew Safavids were Shia. In the beginning, they were Sufi, and there are some questions whether perhaps they were not even Shia, but later on they became Shia, and but they were kings, just like many other kings in those times who came and went. Right? They came to power by the sword, and they ruled by the sword. And anybody who disagreed with them, even if they were good people, they were killed. And if you did not mess with them, they'll let you live your life alone. And these people, because they were Shia, they respected scholars, and they wanted the scholars to have a say, and in the matters of criminal codes that goes on. If somebody wants to divorce his wife, and there's a dispute on the question of divorce or inheritance, or somebody is accused of stealing something, so they wanted, like many other kings, all kings throughout history in Islamic world, whether Shia kings or non-Shia kings, they always relied on ulama and scholars to advise them on legal questions and how to run the legal courts of law. So Shaykh al-Hurr al-Amili, rahimahullah, he was a judge. And this in hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam, as I recall, I read this many years ago, that is permitted for a scholar, if somebody allows him to be a judge, that he is allowed to rule according to the sayings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. So there is no inconsistency between what I am saying and the conduct of Hurr al-Amili and al-Majlisi. And Majlisi was Shaykh al-Islam. In other words, he's the biggest alim, more respected alim in the Safavid kingdom. That meant if he advised the king what to do, what not to do, and the king respected him and sent gifts to him. And if he advised king on certain issues, sometimes kings would agree, sometimes kings would not listen. But generally, kings respected these scholars tremendously. And that is a good role for scholars to have. If that role, if a scholar could play the role even in the West today, in Canada, if Prime Minister of Canada respects a scholar, she is a scholar. That's perhaps not very feasible today, but one day it might come. Respects them and he chooses them as an advisor, it will not be forbidden for him to go and advise the Prime Minister of Canada what to do. Of course, he has to be honest and advise him according to the Shia faith, honestly, and try to explain to him in a way that makes sense to the Prime Minister of Canada. But that would be a very ideal role for any scholar if he could influence the rulers. That's what Imams alayhim salam wanted from Shia scholars. Not to challenge and defy their rulers, but to present a soft side to them so they could trust them, and then they could, if they wanted to request something from these rulers, they would listen to them. Yeah. And I think those rulers are the best. Rulers who respect religion, who respect faith. Although you will not get a perfect ruler, but you have those rulers who totally despise religion, right? Who are anti-religion, anti-faith. Those are the worst type, that they would persecute you because you're pious, and they would not allow you to pray, and those kind of rulers that you have now in communist China. Very close friend to Khamenei. Masajid are banned. Muslims are forced to eat pig, eat pork, drink. Muslims are forced to drink alcohol, consume alcohol in Chinese Turkestan. So those are the worst. But on the other hand, if you have rulers who give you permission how you want to pray, he says, I don't care how you want to pray. And he respects your religion. And if you make requests from him, and if you're, pressure them, they will listen to you. They would perhaps change their behavior because of you. That is much better. And those are the two choices you have in the absence of the Imam alayhi salam. Yeah. Yes, brother. Abu Salman.
Thank you.
I'm with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Sheikh. Okay, so very good. I have other question. I'll keep going with the questions because I think it's better if we do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other question is, what if we as a Shia, we have a lot of Shia communities. We have the Hazara, we have the South Lebanese Shia, we have the Shias in Bahrain. What if
Mhm.
all of those people they get persecuted because of their faith and they cannot practice anymore and are treated like the people in China, like you were saying?
Yeah.
What do
So
they what do what do they do in this
in
case?
hadith of Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam, if there is such an enemy who wants to kill you, destroy you, no matter what you want to do, they want to kill you, or he wants to take over your property, or he wants to force you to change your religion, then you're allowed to push him back, to fight back. That is allowed, and you can do that under the command of another kafir, because the only purpose is you can do that under the command of Bani Umayyah, Bani Abbas, whoever. You can make them allies. And the purpose is not to establish Islamic government. The purpose here, the target is not to topple a government or to establish Islamic. The purpose is just to repel this enemy. So he gives hope. So he understands that he cannot destroy you. So that he understands that he cannot force you to change your religion or take away your property. So in order to safeguard your property, your land, your honor, your life, your religion, you're allowed to engage in jihad, an armed jihad, right? And you don't need the permission of Imam alayhi salam. You do not need the permission of a mujtahid. This is allowed. You can do that. But only to repel and defeat this enemy. Not that the purpose is not that you're establishing an Islamic government, or the purpose is not that you are going to topple a government that's existing and replace it with another government. No, only in those instances. These instances are rare in history. It happens from time to time, like Daesh came to Iraq, right? When Daesh came to Iraq, that's one example. From time to time, there are examples of that. But this is rare. This doesn't happen often. When Mughals came, Halaku Khan and before him Genghis Khan came to Islamic lands, that was their conduct. If anybody resisted them, they would commit genocide. They will massacre them all, kill everyone in that any city, any region that resisted the Mongols, the Mongols. So the Shias, what did the Shias do? The Shias did not resist them. That's why the Mongols did not kill the Shia. Mongols killed whom? Bani Abbas and the Bani Abbas generals and their armies and those towns that resisted them. But Shias, they opened their arms to the Mongols. He said, we don't have anything against you. Bani Abbas is killing us, and alhamdulillah, you have come here to defeat them. And Halaku Khan, Allama Hilli, in his book, he mentions in Al-Fain, I think, on one of his books I saw, he says, because he himself did not live at that time, but his father was around when Halaku Khan came to Iraq. He said, when Halaku Khan and the Mughal army came to Iraq, he summoned Shia scholars from South Iraq, from Hilla, Karbala, these areas. So my father, along with Shia scholars, they went to see him, the king. And he told them that we have nothing against you. And our Imam, Ali alayhi salam, has said that you will be victorious. And Halaku Khan was very, very surprised. He said, how? And then my father narrated the sermon from Imam Ali alayhi salam, that khutbah, in which he describes and he prophesizes how the Mughals will come and they will conquer Islamic lands and they will topple the government. And he was happy, and then he didn't bother with Shia. So if that's the answer, so if an enemy comes and he becomes so oppressive that's what he's going to do, then you're allowed to repel him, yes.
Very interesting, Sheikh. Thank you for
yes, sure.
that. So let's keep going with her questions. So somebody asked in the chat, so you said that the Battle of Karbala was not a revolution. Then what would you call that? What would you call what Imam Hussein did?
So Bani Umayyah were determined to kill Imam Hussein alayhi salam and kill him with dishonor. Kill them in a way that would avenge their thirst for blood, because of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had defeated them in the battles at the early stages of Islam. And this is time and again stated by Imam Hussein himself. He clearly says why he's killed. What's the reason? And Bani Umayyah did not hide it either. Bani Umayyah time and again said that we want to kill Hussein. And our government will not be true rulers until we kill him. So Bani Umayyah were not like Abu Bakr and Umar vis-a-vis Imam Ali alayhi salam. Abu Bakr and Umar did not bother with Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam if Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam did not create problems for them, did not cause agitation against them, did not rally opposition against them. So they did live, let Amir al-Mu'minin live. So he's living, Amir al-Mu'minin at the time of Abu Bakr and Umar is living his life, private life, as a citizen, not as an official of the government, as a citizen. And he is not rallying any opposition against the government. He is not. So the government sees no point in killing him. You understand? Abu Bakr and Umar see no point in trying to kill Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam because they know he's not doing anything. But that was not the case with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Yazid wanted to kill Imam Hussein alayhi salam in any case. So that's why when he left Medina for Mecca, he said, I'm going to Mecca. If I find security there, I will live there. I will settle down and live there. When he went to Mecca, he realized that he will be killed here. There will be bloodshed and he will be attacked. And the only place that's calling him and promising him, and inviting him and promising him support is Kufa. So he went towards Kufa while he fully knew that this promise is fake and false. But at that time, he did not have anywhere to go except Kufa. Because he stays in Mecca, he will be killed. If he goes anywhere, he will be killed. The only beacon of hope is Kufa. And he knows even in Kufa, he will not find support. But if he doesn't go to Kufa, he will be blamed. Everybody would blame Imam Hussein alayhi salam did not go to Iraq. People of Iraq would have said what? Historians would have said what? They would have said Imam Hussein alayhi salam made a strategic mistake. If he had just marched to Kufa, Muslim ibn Aqil was in Kufa, all people of Kufa had done bay'ah to him. There were thousands of people, tens of thousands of soldiers. All the tribes were with him, right? If Karbala had not happened, Imam Hussein alayhi salam was killed in Mecca. Imam Hussein alayhi salam went back to Medina, killed there. What would have historians have written? They would have all blamed Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam goes to Kufa while knowing that he'd be killed. And time and again, he said when he meets Hur al-Riyahi's army, he says, let me go back. If you invited me, you people of Kufa invited me. Now you do not want to support me. Now you have drawn your swords against me. So allow me to return. He meets with Umar ibn Sa'd. He says the same thing. Allow me to return from where I came, or just let me to go to one of the frontiers, to one of the border areas of this vast Islamic land. Just go me. I'll settle down there as a private citizen. And I will not engage in opposition against you. I will go there and settle down as a private citizen. They would say no. And they did not give him the option that Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam had. That Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam lives his private life as long as he does not create irritation, agitation against the government, does not rally opposition against the government, they will not bother him. They'll let him live. That was not the case. They said to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, you either submit yourself with dishonor, and Prince Ubaidillah ibn Ziyad, he will make the decision about your fate and the fate of your family and your brothers and your sons. Or you have to accept a battle. We will wage war against you. So Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam said that you want me, either way is death. Either way is death. Either I die with dishonor or I die with honor. Die with honor. So that's the story of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam did not, as people understand that he wanted to topple Yazid. He knew that he would not be able to topple Yazid. There are many, many ahadith of Ahlul Bayt. Verse of the Noble Quran, Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. There's alf shahr. 90 years is the rule of Bani Umayyah. Many ahadith, the rule of Bani Umayyah will be 90 years. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam knew that he will be killed. He will not be able to topple Yazid because Yazid's rule and Bani Umayyah's rule will continue. And he knew that he will be martyred in Karbala. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said that he himself said that his father had cried when he was passing through Karbala, that this is where my Hussein alayhi salam will be killed. So he knew his fate. So if a person knows, right, that I'm going to be killed, so his intention, how could be his target that he's toppling this government? That you know for 100%, you know sure that you'll not be able to topple this government, rather you'll be killed by them. And the other explanation that's presented, that Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam wanted to awaken people. So it's like a suicide mission, right? Or some people you see in protests, they burn themselves, right? They'll put gasoline over them, pour gasoline, and then they light themselves just to draw attention. So they say Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam accepted martyrdom, to be killed, for people to know that Yazid is bad. This is no hadith. This is just an interpretation of history. This is not, even people who were there, Bani Umayyah did not say this. Common people who witnessed Karbala, Sahaba, Tabi'in, they did not say this. This interpretation is probably started sometime in our time, in our lifetime, in our ages. These are recent decades, this interpretation. Imam Hussein alayhi salam never said that I want to, be killed and a massacre has to happen so people could realize Bani Umayyah are bad. All these interpretations are not correct. Imam Hussein wanted to topple Yazid. Yes, he wanted to topple Yazid if he had enough support. Amirul Mu'mineen wanted to topple Abu Bakr and Omar if he had support, if he had enough helpers. Imam Ja'far Sadiq said, if I had so many helpers, I would form an army. But he never made an effort towards it because he knew he did not have that kind of support amongst the people. Yeah. I hope my position is clear. Yes, Abu Salman.
Yes, it was very clear. Thanks, Sheikh.
Sure, may Allah bless you.
And bless you as well. So I have another question. Somebody asked, why were we taught Sharia law by the Ahlul Bayt, which can only be implemented in an Islamic state if there is no concept of an Islamic state? So why did we learn about? So why did we learn, for example, that on the one who drink alcohol, he needs to be wiped? Why do we have those kind of narration if they're not to be implemented?
So Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam have never ordered their Shias to implement these laws. The criminal codes, we have no hadith that, like you and me and common folks or scholars, they are obligated to carry out these laws. These laws are for the Imam alayhi salam. And these are partial criminal codes that we have. We don't have all criminal codes. There are many, many ahadith in Al-Kafi that there is Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have such extensive criminal codes that even if you make a scratch on someone's skin, what is the penalty for that? That you scratch them, cause this minor irritation, minor pain for somebody. What's the penalty for that? None of those have been described to us. Very few have been described to us that someone's hand has to be cut off or somebody has to be whipped, but there is no obligation that we have to carry these. Obviously, these are the duties of the Imam alayhi salam, the ruler who is going to do this, right? It's not the duty of the common man to grab somebody, you have stolen something and I'm going to cut off your hand. It is the duty of the ruler. And who is the ruler? Imam alayhi salam. Imam alayhi salam never handed over this position to anybody else. That you carry, we are going to ghaiba, you go ahead and do this in our place. So these are the duties of the Imam alayhi salam. Of course, there are many, many laws in Islam which can only be implemented if there's Islamic government. Yes, there is the concept of Islamic government, but not without an imam, without a ma'soom, without an infallible imam. That cannot be done because for many reasons, nobody could replace. You have to understand that you don't have a replacement for imam. Imam is so holy, so sacred, so divine, so pure, so clean that nobody comes close. Nobody could fulfill his role. So that divine leader, who is the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah has made him ruler over you and me in humanity. You think Khamenei or Hassan Nasrallah or some other mullah by studying 20 or 30 or 40 years, he would be in a position to, for one moment, for 1 second, that he could carry out the duties of Imam alayhi salatu, then you don't know what Imam is, what Imamat is, and who Imam is. You don't know that. And that would ask the people of Iran what mistake they commit, how they regret. People of Iran who supported Khomeini. Ask them. There are still a lot of people. Islamic Revolution happened in Iran 45 years ago. There are a lot of people who are still alive from that generation. And all of them, they regret. They have very deep, profound regret and sorrow for their support for Khomeini. And they all concur that they were deceived. They didn't know better. That they should not have engaged in revolution against Iran, against the Shah. And Khomeini's promises were fake. And Allah knows. So Khomeini is cursed, and Khomeini is cursed, and Khomeini is the object of so many expletives in Iran amongst scholars that Allah knows very, very extensively. Yeah. By his own students. I've heard from Khomeini's own students, people who supported, people who saved Khomeini from Shah. They themselves curse Khomeini with most profane words all the time. This is very common. And these are not people, these are scholars, these are people who have spent decades studying in Hausa. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
And of course, Shias do not hear this in public because the Shia public forum is controlled by Iran, by the Iranian Secret Service, even in America, even in Canada, even in the West. The scholars here do not dare say one thing 1 second because these scholars, they have to calculate for on their own personal gain. So, yeah. Yes, brother, go ahead.
Very good. Thank you, Sheikh
Sure.
Abu Ali. I think I will leave someone else speaking because I've asked so many questions. So if somebody wants to...
Thank you so much. All right. May Allah bless you.
Thank you a
so
lot,
much, brother.
Sheikh. You're welcome.
Thank you. May God bless you. Allah keep you well. I will have Fahad here. Mr. Fahad. He looks like a familiar face. Maybe I've taken him before. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Fahad. How are you doing, brother?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
Yes,
I'm fine, alhamdulillah.
Good, thank you. May Allah keep you well. Thank you, sir. Where are you calling from, brother?
Wife.
Yeah, you're live.
Yeah, I introduced to myself. My name is Fahad.
Yeah.
I'm from Pakistan.
I think I've seen you somewhere. I don't know where I've seen you.
Since 1 year, we talked on the issue of Fajr.
Okay, maybe. Okay. Yeah, all right.
Okay. So today I want to talk a very the topic is that a take on the door of the Fatma Salamul Alayhi. I want to discuss on. I have the concern on the you presented the one narration from the book of Al-Hadith al-Muqtara.
Yeah.
So in this, you presented that the acceptance of Abu Bakr, that perhaps I didn't do these deeds. So the third was that perhaps I did not attack on the door of the Fatima Zahra Salamullah. But if we look on the narrator in this hadith, so there is the narrator Ulwan bin Daud al-Bajli. So there is a weak narrator. So I think if we put the allegation on the Umar, because I think this is the big allegation. So I think the Umar did more like these things, but this is the biggest allegation on the Umar, that he, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him, that he attacked on the door. So this was a very shameless. So I think if the allegation is big, the evidence must be authentic, bigger, biggest. So please concern about.
So,
If you can open the, please open. Allah
yeah.
Hafiz Mukhtar.
So, who is reliable, who is not reliable? This is subjective. This is ijtihad. This is not, if I say, okay, this person is black, or this person is white, or this person is a man, this person is a woman, these are not subjective. This is not an interpretation. This is not an opinion. This is a fact. I see you, you're wearing glasses, so this is a fact. But whether you're a good person or a bad person, that's an opinion. That's an opinion. So when a scholar says someone is za'if, someone is reliable, someone is not reliable, this is an opinion. Dawood ibn Ulwan al-Bajali has been, Ulwan ibn Dawood, you're right. Ulwan ibn Dawood al-Bajali, he is a thiqah, first of all, because for many reasons. One, Ibn Hibban mentions him in his thiqat. Number one. Number two, in the book of Al-Kamil ibn Adi, he says that he has a comprehensive list of all individuals who are weak, unreliable. So he has included all weak people there, and Dawood is not there. Ulwan is not there. Ulwan ibn Dawood. And then Dhiya al-Maqdisi, himself a very important person, very reliable scholar of hadith. He brings this hadith and he clearly says this book is Hassan. This hadith is Hassan, hadith of Ulwan ibn Dawood al-Bajali. So these persons, all of them indicate that Ulwan is what? Ulwan is reliable. Ulwan is trustworthy narrator. And then also, just as testimony or many testimonies of scholars that such and such person is weak or unreliable by itself has no merit. This doesn't have any weight at all, because always jarh has to be mufassar. Al-jarhu la yaqbalu illa mufassara. Jarh always has to be coupled with its reason. That if we say someone is weak, why he is weak. And we are going to look into that reason. Is that reason acceptable or not? Because people have been done jarh by scholars who are for personal reasons, or because of religious bias, or some other reason that was not acceptable. So and then again, when we come to Dawood ibn Ulwan al-Bajali, there is no account why. If people have said he is weak, why he is weak. So the jarh has to be mufassar. There is no mufassar jarh. There is no reason, legitimate reason to consider why. So there has to be a clear account, established account of why Ulwan ibn Dawood al-Bajali is not reliable. There is no such account present. And on the other hand, as I mentioned, he is Ibn Hibban in al-Thiqat says he is thiqah. Al-Kamil ibn Adi, as I mentioned what he says. And also Dhiya al-Maqdisi. He authenticates and verifies his hadith as Hassan. So that by itself clears Ulwan of any charge of not being reliable. Yes, sir. You have another question?
Regard of these al-Ahadith al-Muqtara, can you show me another authentic proofs or evidence or narration to support the Umar attack on the door of the Fatima?
Absolutely. On the subject, if you go to my videos on the subject, I had a debate with Mawlawi Wahdan. Mawlawi Wahidullah Wahdan. I had two debates. The second debate was this. And also I had a debate with, what was his name there? Mufti, the older Mufti. let me look up his name because I forgot his name. I had two debates with him. The second debate was rather long. In Urdu, if you look at that debate, I bring forward many when we speak. Well, that was on Fadak. I'm sorry, that was on Fadak. But with Wahidullah Wahdan, if you look at the debate, also on the martyrdom of Hazrat Zahra Salamullah Alaiha, Shahadat of Hazrat Zahra Salamullah Alaiha, and those lectures, you will see that I've mentioned several accounts, all from non-Shia sources, that which show that Omar attacked the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, because this is not my topic, so I'm just going to refer you to those the Wahidullah Wahdan's debate, and also on my speeches on the topic of Shahadat of Hazrat Zahra Salamullah Alaiha in Urdu. And Arabic also, in Farsi also, but Urdu is accessible to you. Yeah. You have any other questions, sir?
No, okay. Thank you. I will check out that.
Okay. Thank you so much, brother. May Allah bless you. Allah keep you well. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. Let me go. Who is my next caller? Okay, Said Haider is here. We have the pleasure of hosting Said Haider in our show today. Alhamdulillah. Are you ready, brother? Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you very much. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you. Allah keep you well. Thank you for coming here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm trying to switch my Bluetooth. I don't know if you can hear me loud and clear.
I do.
But anyway,
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, this was a very powerful, anointing speech that you delivered in the beginning of the program.
Sure.
Undoubtedly, every word and every sentence that you read from the hadith of Imam Masoom alayhi salam made a lot of sense. As why not to engage in any type of revolt, uprising with the running government.
Yeah.
In the name of Islamic revolution or holy war, and what? How so true and full of wisdom in projecting the aftermath of such uprising or revolt in the name of holy war or whatever we've been hearing for all these years. I was shocked. I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask you. First of all, they call it Islamic revolution of Iran.
Yeah.
Was Shah Iran not a Muslim? First of all. And the book that you were quoting, the Hadith of Imam, do they have these books in Jose Ilmiya in Qum? There were hundreds and thousands of Mujtahid and Ayatullahs. How come neither of them stood against such labeling of Islamic revolution? Do you have any knowledge of that? Was there an opposition for such thing?
So in the Hausa, it's a very tragic reality, a very brutal fact that hadith is not read. Hadith is ridiculed. And time and again, when I mention that the greatest harm to Shia religion comes from its own ulama, I'm very serious about this. See, if these ahadith were taught, if these ahadith were read before the revolution would not have happened. And hundreds of thousands of lives would not have been ruined. Millions of lives would not have been ruined. So at that time, before the revolution, there was the group of scholars and ulama who were involved in the revolution. They were very outspoken. And they would, anybody who opposed them, they were immediately labeled as being the agent of the Shah, being agent of Savak. So, and these ahadiths were all, if you tried to read these ahadiths, you were ridiculed. You would not be listened to, you'd be ridiculed. There was a famous scholar in Hausa. His name is Muhammad Taqi Bahjat, Ayatollah Bahjat. He's very well known. One of his colleagues recently revealed that before the revolution, Ayatollah Bahjat told me that I am not with this revolution and I oppose this revolution. Sheikh Muhammad Ali Garami is also one of the Maraji now. He said that he was, and I asked him why. At that time, Muhammad Ali Garami says that I was very pro-revolution. I was one of the revolutionary young people at the time. And I said, why? And he recited to me this hadith of Al-Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam that I read to you today. He said, this is why. And he said that I'm not with this revolution and I don't think these guys will go anywhere. They will be able to fulfill their promises that they give Islamic government and a bright future for Shias. This will not going to happen. So there were very few scholars who had read these ahadith, but they did not really, nobody had the courage to come in public and read these ahadith in public in front of people for various reasons. First of all, scholars in Hausa, they don't read hadith. If they read hadith, they always misinterpret hadith on some other grounds. It's very common because they don't understand hadith. And so for them, their ijtihad precedes everything, supersedes everything. If they have a preconceived notion, then they will reject any hadith that is opposite to their views. And also the main factor at the time, or equally main factor at the time, was that scholars did not dare to oppose Khomeini, because Khomeini and his people around him, they were very outspoken, and they had the media in their service. By media, I mean BBC and Voice of America and Deutsche Welle, because at that time there were no internet at the time, there were no social media. Inside Iran, the media was controlled by the Shah, but people did not really listen much to domestic news. A lot of people got their news and news analysis from overseas. So the BBC, and after that Voice of America and Deutsche Welle, these radio stations they were very effective during the Cold War in the 1970s and 80s. They had widespread audience, and they were at the service of Khomeini. Very few people know this, especially in Pakistan and in the United States, that Khomeini had long-standing contacts with the US government before the revolution. And in many of these Islamic movements that you see in the Islamic countries, they are either supported and chaperoned by Soviet Union, now by Russia, or by the West. Most of the Islamic parties in the Islamic world and Islamic movement in the Islamic world, they are not native. They do not genuinely represent the aspirations of the people. They are mostly, a lot of times, like the Afghan Mujahideen and Afghanistan Islamic parties in Pakistan. They are supported by other countries, by foreign countries, by the West and the Western governments, and before that the Soviet Union. They used to take advantage of these Islamic movements. So at any rate, anybody who opposed Khomeini, if you try to, in the 1970s, if you try to oppose Khomeini because you recite a hadith, you would be stoned by Khomeini's followers. Khomeini had given a fatwa in Najaf that he said that, this is also present in his book, Wilayat al-Faqih, his lecture. He said, those scholars who oppose the Islamic revolution, dishonor them. He said to us, he was a marja at the time. Dishonor them. I don't say kill them, but take away their amamas, take away their turbans, and dishonor them and shame them so they cannot come to the minbar again. And when he gave this fatwa, why? Because there were certain ulama against him. What happened? Some scholars were killed. One of the scholars who was very famous at the time, Ayatollah Shamsabadi in Isfahan, he was Ayatollah Khui's representative, very respectable man. Khomeini's followers killed him. They kidnapped him and killed him because he opposed Khomeini. So at that time, if you opposed Khomeini, you would be calling for the wrath of the revolutionary forces, and these guys were not joking around. They will kill you, and they will tarnish your reputation. They will everywhere. They will say, "Oh, you're an agent of the Shah. You're an agent of Savak, and you have taken money from the Savak." And they would I'll give you another example. A very famous marja in Najaf al-Ashraf, very famous. His name is Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Rouhani. Sayyid Muhammad Rouhani was very knowledgeable. He a man of profound knowledge. Many of the Maraji are his students. For instance, Sheikh Bashir Najaf is a student. Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, who was an outstanding scholar himself, he was a student. And amongst this, he was looked upon as one of the future marja when Khomeini was alive. So when he came, Khomeini in 1963, when he went to Najaf, the scholars of Najaf did not really show respect for Khomeini, and they did not receive him really as an equal marja. They looked down at him as someone who is not really well versed in Islamic sciences. Yeah. So amongst them was Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Rouhani. Sayyid Muhammad Rouhani had a great following in Najaf, especially amongst senior students, because they all looked up at him and admired him for his knowledge and his learning, and he was very profound in his lectures. And he was against Khomeini, and his lectures obviously outshined Khomeini's lectures. So what did Khomeini and his party do? Sayyid Abdul Hamid Rouhani, who's alive now, and he is the head of the Islamic Revolution's archives. So he is supposed to safeguard the documents of the revolution. He faked a check from Iranian embassy made to Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Rouhani. A fake check. And he published it, made it public in Najaf, that Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Rouhani is getting money from whom? From the Shah. So he is an agent of the Shah. Look, we have the check here. The check is made to him. Yeah, just to defame him. Just a check is made to what? With his name on it, from the embassy of Iran, Shah's embassy in Baghdad. And that tarnished his reputation. He was never able again to restore his reputation. After his death, he died after his death. It was revealed the check was fake. So when you kill a person's reputation, destroy, it's like killing him. Then he is not able to, he cannot, he doesn't have the media, he doesn't have the resources to clear his name. And everybody throughout the Muslim world, Shia world, they think, oh, look at this big scandal. Oh, this scholar that we respected, he was on the payroll of the Iranian Secret Service. Yeah. So they knew these dirty games. So at that time, for religious scholars to oppose Khomeini was not easy, was very difficult. Yeah. Even today, the same game. Even today, the same is playing today. There are lots of scholars today who have problems with this, differences with Iranian system, Iranian government, Islamic revolution, but they cannot voice their opinion because they know the consequences. Because their reputation would be smeared. They'll be made the object, the target of attacks, personal attacks. So that's why they stay silent. Yeah.
And who knows, a lot of them might have been eliminated. We never know because the media is very well controlled in Iran. But I'm just kind of, wondering, whatever you read today as a warning of our Imam Masoom alayhi salam, it's very true. Look what happened after the revolution, so-called Islamic revolution of Iran. It created a rift between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And then we see a trail of a very devastating wave of terrorism. ISIL, Daesh, all of these are funded. We know who are they were funded by and are still being funded. And Saudi Arabia, and of course, there are two factions. Iran is known to be a Shiite faction or pro-Shiite or a Shia Islamic state. And so is Saudi Arabia, a Sunni Islamic state. And I see a trail of constantly increasing horrific and terrorist activities in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, and in Iran itself. now the result of that is not only it hurt the Shiites a lot, it did hurt Iran a whole lot. Their economical sanctions, their suffering, just because of making one blunder mistake. Now, what happened after that is there is a large number of countries in the West. Those were looking for an opportunity to annihilate those oil-rich regimes, though they were in power, or turn them into their own favor. What happened in Syria, what happened in Afghanistan, these are all the consequences of creating a rift between the Muslim factions, Shia and Sunnis, and the other forces are definitely taking advantage of it. So we definitely did not pay attention to what was born thousands of years ago by our Imam, and it is so very true. So this would have been a different scenario, in your opinion, Hassan Allahyari brother. Would have would have this been a different scenario? There would have been a different aftermath of this revolution if it was not called a Islamic revolution. Let's say if they had labeled it revolution of Iran, would that have made any difference?
Absolutely,
Any difference
absolutely,
in whatever is
absolutely.
going on?
So Khomeini led this revolution, and Khomeini called himself the Imam of the Muslim world, Wali Amr al-Muslimin. And he said he is going to export this revolution. He said that he clearly said, not once, time and again, he came on the Iranian media and he said, we are going to export this revolution. That meant there will be revolutions in Pakistan, there will be revolution in Iraq, there will be revolution in Kuwait, there will be revolution in Saudi Arabia, there will be revolution in Jordan, there will be revolution in Egypt. And who is the leader? Khomeini is the leader. Amongst them, the most sensitive country was Iraq, because Iraq was a Shia majority country. Iraq was at the time, and a Sunni minority was ruling. Khomeini came on TV, and you would not believe he came. This is before Iran-Iraq war, and he said Saddam is kafir. He did takfir of Saddam, the president of neighboring country. Although when Khomeini toppled Shah and the revolution was victorious, the first country that sent a congratulatory note was Iraq. Iraq was the first country that sent. But Khomeini at that time, he did not have a good understanding of geopolitics in a situation in Iraq. And he thought that he had just toppled Saddam. And he saw himself so popular. And he was popular indeed in Iraq and throughout the Muslim world, especially in the Shia world. Very popular. And he thought that he could replicate this revolution in Iraq. So he came on TV.
In Iraq.
Yeah, he came on TV and said Saddam is kafir, and it's incumbent upon the people of Iraq to rise up against Saddam, and especially armed forces. And he called upon armed forces, the military, Iraqi military, to depose Saddam. So and everybody was against this. Like all this, because the Soviet Union, that's at that time Iraq was a pro-Soviet Union during the Cold War, pro-Soviet Union state, and the United States was also against this.
And Russia,
yeah,
right. And on a side note, Russia was trying to help the 1991 war. They were trying to be a mediator. They wanted to stop America in hasting to attack Iraq. They were trying to help Saddam Hussein, but nothing really happened. December the 22nd, they started bombing and they killed hundreds and thousands of. And then after this, if it is a statement from Khomeini, genocide of Shia.
So let me complete my answer to your question. So what happened?
Please go ahead. I apologize for the interruption.
So because Saddam knew that where is Karbala? Karbala is in Iraq, under the Iraqi rule. Najaf is in Iraq. Samarra is in Iraq. Qazimain is in Iraq. And Khomeini has just declared himself the Imam of the Muslim world. And Iraq is a Shia country, Shia majority country. And if he wants to create a revolution in Iraq, it will not be very difficult for him, unless he's opposed, unless he's stopped. So what did Saddam do? Saddam cracked down on Shias. Saddam cracked down. Any person of influence in Iraqi army who was Shia, he was killed.
Eliminated.
Any person in the Iraqi business community, in the government, in the bureaucracy, and any person who had religious leanings, not only being pro-Iran, no, just to be religious, because it would be religious people who would come out to in support of Khomeini's call. Saddam incarcerated them and killed them and eliminated them. So it was a very bad time of mass persecution, mass hanging, mass killing for Shias, right after the Iraqi revolution. And the Iraqi Hausa, hundreds, perhaps thousands of scholars were killed. Amongst them, Baqir al-Sadr was a very prominent scholar at the time. And he wanted to come to Iraq, but Khomeini personally sent a telegram to him, official, because telegrams, obviously, you say sell a telegraph, you send it to Iraqi Ministry of Communication, they will read it. He said, you have to stay in Iraq and lead the revolution. So in a sense, Khomeini cleared the way for him to be killed by Saddam. And then all the countries of the Arab countries of the region, they were alarmed by this. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, because they knew if Khomeini was able to topple Iraq and take over Iraq, it would be a superpower state. Because Iraq and Iran combined, then they will dominate the Middle East. Then there will nobody will be able to challenge them, and nobody will be able to oppose them. Yeah. So they did what? They encouraged Saddam to attack. And then at that time, Khomeini himself did not help either. Khomeini, at that time, he made statements. He did not make any conciliatory. This is very, very long debate, how Saddam attacked Iran. The Iranian ambassador at the time in Iraq was Sayyid Mahmoud Du'ai. He recently passed away. He himself said, Saddam called me to his office. He was the Iranian ambassador in 1979 in Baghdad, Khomeini's ambassador. He said, Saddam called me and he told me that please ask your government, do not interfere in Iraq. If Khomeini wants, I'll come to Tehran. I'll personally come and meet with them. We want to have brotherly relationship with you, good relationship with you. And if you do not stop this, a war is inevitable. Then we will have to attack. There's no other way. You leave us no option. Option. Yeah. And Du'ai says, I came. And I met Khomeini. And I told him, Saddam is going to attack. He is serious. And he has made but he doesn't want to attack. He wants to make peace with us. Khomeini looked at me and he laughed. He says, oh, who is Saddam? How could he attack? We toppled Shah. He can never attack us. And Khomeini did not take it serious. At that time, even the United States at the time, he said, because the United States was monitoring everything through its agencies, also satellites, so they knew about preparations. They gave warning to Iran that Saddam will attack you. You have to be prepared. Khomeini did not take any of those seriously. Khomeini, he didn't understand what the situation was. So the attack happened, and this war, and then once the war started, Saddam, after the war, immediately after a few weeks, he said that, okay, he realized that he cannot defeat Iran. He realized in the beginning. He wanted to pull out and stop the war. Khomeini then said, no, we are not going to stop the war. Khomeini could have stopped this war. If you remember in the 80s, it was Khomeini always insisting that we will fight till the end, until we conquer Baghdad.
But the people in Pakistan, sorry to cut you off, they have the other impression that it was Saddam Hussein who never wanted to stop the war. It's not just
absolutely not. Absolutely not. In 1980 or 81, the Conference of Islamic Countries, they promised Iran for reparations. If you stop the war, we will pay for all your costs of the war. Khomeini rebuffed them. Yeah, there were many. There are many. This is clearly established. Saddam started the war, but Khomeini continued the war. Saddam, Saddam from the beginning of the war, just a few weeks after the war, rather a few days after the beginning of the war, he wanted to stop the war because he realized he could not. He made a mistake. He could not defeat Iran. Yeah. But Khomeini insisted. This was common at the time, this slogan, Jang Jang ta Piruzi. We were going to and Rah Quds as Karbala migzarat. The road to Jerusalem goes through Karbala. Yeah, that we are going to conquer Karbala, and then we are going to march on to capture Israel, to capture Jerusalem. That was Khomeini's slogan. Yeah.
He was intoxicated with the fame and the power that he gained after this revolution. I believe that's
absolutely,
why.
Absolutely.
But it's very unfortunate, and we are seeing everything. All of these imams, hadith, alayhi salam's hadith. It's so true. Every word, every sentence. We now look at it. It's giving us a prediction. What will happen if you do something wrong? And I think millions of people. If you look at Iraq, Iran, Syria, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, millions of people died because of one wrong step. Allama Hassan
This
Allahyari,
wave,
brother, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. May
Time.
Allah bless you, Sayyid Haidar. May Allah keep you well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. May Allah bless you. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz. Thank you. So this wave of anti-Shiism, especially militant anti-Shiism, takfir of Shiism, this is a direct result of Khomeini's revolution. Before 1979, there was not one Islamic group in the world, not one jihadi group in the world with the aim of takfir of Shia in killing Shias. Now there are many, many groups around the Muslim world. Wherever there is a Shia community, there is a group that does takfir of Shia, and in many cases there are groups engaged in militarily and armed opposition to Shia, to physically clear the Shia populations. And this is a tragedy. This is a direct result of Khomeini's revolution. Because the reason for that is wherever there's a Shia population, Iranian government tries to manipulate it and control it and use it as its pawns in that country. Now I have Brother Hafiz Al-Alawi from Nigeria. We'll have the pleasure of talking to him. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing, brother?
Oh,
thank you for calling.
Respected Sheikh.
May Allah bless you. May Allah keep you well. Thank you.
Welcome. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammadin at-tayyibin at-tahirin. In the beginning, actually, I wanted to refer to a verse. Allah Azza wa Jalla saying, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ.
Yes.
And Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَمَا اللَّهُ يُرِيدُ ظُلْمًا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. In these two verses, if we deeply reflect on them, Allah Azza wa Jal has sent the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam to be a mercy for everybody. It's a mercy for the whole world.
Yeah.
The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, during his time, he had a clear statement. He had made Ahlul Bayti alayhim assalam are his gerunds. So in this case, this very rahmah that Allah Azza wa Jal sent the Prophet with for the mankind to take place cannot be established except by the Holy Prophet and except by Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam.
Ahsant.
In the other verse, Allah says, وَمَا اللَّهُ يُرِيدُ ظُلْمًا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah would not wish or intend injustices for anybody. Here also we can have this note that anybody who uprises, anybody, no matter how good-hearted he is, he would not be able to actually establish that justice. He would not be able to bring about that justice fully, and he will definitely run into error. He will definitely run into error. This topic that you brought is very important. It's so much sensational. It's so much important. The concept of Islamic governance.
Yeah.
Ever since you started, and with this very note, here comes. Okay. Here comes the clear-cut statement of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. When they said, كل راية ترفع قبل قيام القائم فهي طاغوت. كل راية. It's open statement and it's clear-cut and it's very simple to be understood. كل راية. In today's world, we see many riots, many flags, many banners come out in the name of justice. My dear brothers and sisters, we ask them, are you an infallible being? Can you definitely bring that justice? You cannot bring it. Definitely. With time, you will have to topple. With time, you will have to, bring some animosity. You will bring more hatred upon Shia and the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You will bring more errors than goodness.
MashaAllah.
I have some few questions, Shaykhana.
Just to, before you ask your question, just the point that you made, and that's so beautiful. وَمَا اللَّهُ يُرِيدُ ظُلْمًا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. That was the verse, right?
No.
وَمَا اللَّهُ يُرِيدُ ظُلْمًا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah does not intend, Allah does not desire any oppression for the people of the world. For the people of the world. So, a person who is infallible, he is guaranteed by Allah, he is safeguarded by Allah, his every action, that he will never, ever carry out any injustice, any oppression, any abuse against any person or any animal. He will never do it. And such a system is just and appropriate that we call divine. But any other person that he is not infallible, rather infallible. Time and again, when I had debates in Persian language with scholars from Iran about revolution, I would ask them, when a mujtahid leads a revolution, his promise is that the current government is unjust and it commits oppression, and we are going to replace it with a better government that will be less oppressive. I would say, what guarantee do you have that this person, now he is promising you that our government will be better than the current one? What guarantee do you have that his government is going to be better, less oppressive than the current government? He is not ma'soom. He is not infallible. He is fallible. So, and when he comes to power and he is intoxicated with power, and when he sees his political gains, what guarantee do you have? What assurance do you have that he is not going to oppress you just like the current government, or even worse? So obviously the answer to that is that no, we have no assurance. We can never be certain that he is going to be less oppressive. That's why it's such a stupid idea to believe someone's message that we should sacrifice our lives. We should make an uprising, engage in battle against a very powerful government. For what purpose? So somebody else could replace this government. And is that government going to be better? We don't know. We don't know. Yes, brother. May Allah bless you.
Barakallahu fikum. And that always, Shaykhana, it's a methodology of Umariyya.
Mm-hmm.
The Umariyya, when they could not have any option, they now tried to bring out an uprising. They now started bringing out methodologies. They now started, putting up things.
Ahsan.
And in the religion of Allah, there is no putting up,
Ahsan.
That's how they started. They came out against Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and they started all the way from that period, all
Ahsan.
the Banu Umayyah, Banu al-Abbas, and so many of them. Many of them, if you talk to them, they will tell you that we have good plans for you. We have promises for you. We have a lot of things. But when they started enjoying the seat of power,
Ahsan.
when they started enjoying the seat of power, they won't be able to know who is even turning them up and down.
Hassan.
You know, so we should stop comparing ourselves with the holy Masums. These positions, it's only meant for the holy Masum.
Hassan.
Now, and also, sir, I have a question. Right now, I'm sure currently you have heard about some of the dear scholars, you know, they had this mission, they had this plan. I'm sure you heard about Sheikh Yasser al-Habib, about his plan to you know, had a kind of Ardul Mahdawiyya, a land for the way they call it, for the Shias to, you know, to be able to be there, to live their life freely. But definitely, if you look at it, there will be time for challenge. You know, the world will challenge them.
Yeah.
Those who are people who is to govern, who is going to be the governor, you know, and those who are being governed, definitely there will be clashes. How are you going to put up rulings that will match with Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam? Definitely, with time, all this is going to be like a second Iran. It's going to be like a second Iran, you know, and this is what we have seen.
Yeah.
You know, so if you can say a little commentary about this Ardul Mahdawiyya that they are trying to make
this is the first time I am hearing about this term, Al-Ardul Mahdawiyya. I heard that he wants to purchase a small island where Muslims, Shias would live. Yeah. To call it Al-Ardul Mahdawiyya, well, you're free to call it that, but of course, there's no illusion that if he purchases a big parcel of land, whether it's an island or not an island, it will be subject to the rules of the United Kingdom, the British government. It will be subject to that. And people will have to respect the rule of the government they live in. They will not be able to establish an independent state. And I don't think that they want to establish an independent state. If that is their intention, that's very ridiculous. Because by buying a few acres of land in a very foggy, wet rock in the North Sea, I don't think you could extricate yourself from the rule of the British government. And plus, I think it's a haven for them. It's a good place for them to run away from the persecution of Kuwait and the Middle East, to live in the UK. And there is no, I mean, that's so preposterous to even imagine that if you buy an island, you can establish a government there. But so I'm not going to delve into that. But generally, it's aside from this connotation of having an independent state and an island, aside from that, itself is a good idea, I think, for the Shia. If they can afford, whether in Nigeria, whether in Pakistan, whether in India or in the United States, if they could buy a big parcel of land where lots of Shia would live, they would establish Shia community, subject to state rules, subject to the rules of the country, laws of the country, constitution of the country, just to have more Shias around. Then you have, you could have Shia libraries, you could have Shia schools, you could have Shia walking distance masjids. That's a very good idea, I think, by itself. But you have to know what your purpose is. That purpose should be that you could, if you have your own piece of land, you could have a maqbara, you can have your own Shia graveyard, right, for people who pass away. You could have masjid, walking distance. You could have Shia restaurants, lots of Shia restaurants. These things will make life easier for the Shias living in diaspora in the countries where there are very, very minute minorities. But that would be it that you will have. And to aspire to have a small island and then establish your own government, I think that's not possible. May Allah bless you. Allah keep you. I think you've been disconnected. Thank you, brother. Okay, I have a caller here. His name is No Shirwan. Assalamu alaikum, No Shirwan. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, Hassan Bhai. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Where are you calling from?
So I'm calling from Australia at this time. I'm doing my PhD from there.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. May Allah keep you well. What time is there? That's 6 a.m., 7 a.m.?
Yes, it's 6 a.m.
10 to 7,
I'm
right?
doing my PhD. Yes, you're right.
What's your subject? What
I'm
study are
doing my
you?
PhD in applied chemistry.
Chemistry, mashallah. Okay.
Yeah. So
what's applied
Hassan
chemistry?
Bhai,
That deals with metals?
yes, of course. I mean, so there is general chemistry. So this degree is called applied chemistry just because it has more focus towards applied aspect of chemistry. But you are very right. My project and my PhD is related to metallurgical processes.
Okay.
So in this way, it is related to metals, and
MashaAllah. So
you are very correct there.
So right now there's a big study, I think, for this field of chemistry with all the new devices that come on the new phones and computers, because there are so many different metals used in them. I guess chemistry comes into play with it big time, right?
Sure. I mean, there is huge demand for it, I would say, but the trouble is that China is always making a very a cheaper version of all these minerals, because I think they pay very less labor for its extraction. So many businesses all over the world are suffering because of them.
They have a very strong hold on the resources, on the natural resources side of things. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying that.
Yeah. And even the company that I am doing my PhD project with are in a bit of trouble at this time because their stock is going down because China is dominating the market. So I really hope there is some check to this. Otherwise, every business of the world would collapse. Which I mean, and I think people are not investing so much because of these difficulties.
Okay.
Also. So and maybe we'll discuss this at another time.
Inshallah.
So Hassan Bhai, I just wanted to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
So first, this terminology of Ahle Kitab, it confuses me sometimes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, I mean, who are Ahle Kitab according to the school of Imam, our Imams, I mean.
So Ahl Kitab are Jews and Christians, people who follow the Torah or people who follow the New Testament. These are Ahl Kitab. However, in the Noble Quran, where Ahl Kitab is used, a lot of time, especially with respect to Bani Israel, those verses, they refer to the Umari. So it's a code. The deeper meaning is those verses are with respect to the enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Allah Ta'ala has meant by Bani Israel the enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam. The enemies and the opponents of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam, the opponents of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Yeah. So a lot of time those words of condemnation that you see in the Noble Quran for Bani Israel, these I'm not making these up. You can see in the book Tafsir al-Burhan. Because a lot of times when I say things, because our scholars, our Maulvis, they are programmed, brainwashed in Iran. They are alarmed. They think, oh, how could this be? Well, they could just open the books of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. That Allah, Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam have mentioned them with respect to numerous verses in the Noble Quran. Yeah, Quran is a deeper meaning. One is the outer meaning and one is the deeper meaning. The deeper meaning of Quran, only Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam have that knowledge. And they have revealed to us, they have exposed these deeper meanings to us, that a lot of times Bani Israel in the Noble Quran, is referred to and to point out to the enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. So Ahlul Kitab is one outer meaning, which is the Jews and Christians, and one deeper meaning. The deeper meaning is when we are talking about the children of Israel. It's Abu Bakr and Omar and their followers. Yes, brother.
So that is very interesting, Ahmed bhai. Sorry, Hassan bhai. That is very, very good to know, because of course, so imams have said this, that
Of course.
like specifically,
Yeah.
that is,
Yeah.
and I mean, saying Ahle Kitab, okay, they did have book. I mean, Abu Bakr and Umar, I would say, but it makes sense this way. But considering the outer meaning only at this time, if it applies to Christians and Jews, so for Jews, I mean, Jews, okay, believe in one God, but for Christians, I mean, they believe in Trinity. So, I
So,
mean,
so not all
would
of
it
them.
be called
So
polytheism?
Trinity, say divinity of Jesus among Christian is a contentious topic. Not all of them believe that in Trinity. So
Okay.
there's wide spectrum of different beliefs within Christianity about what's the position of Jesus, right? Whether
Mm-hmm.
he's God, whether he's the Son of God, or no, he's not the Son of God, and what's Holy Ghost. So that is not. And then those who say he's the Son of God, what is the meaning of the Son of God? So there are various different interpretations. So Christianity has a wide range of different
Mm-hmm.
beliefs within Christianity on this very topic. I'm not an expert on this. I've not done any research on it, but I know that they
Mm-hmm.
are not all the same within Christianity. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a verse in the Quran once I read that, I mean, God says to Christians, I think, that don't say God, the Trinity. I mean, but it's just the tone was really of a recommendation, instead of like making them fear of this by some sort of azab, I would say. So, I mean, but in this day and age, if a Christian is believing that God has three forms, would he be called mushrik and not true
Yeah.
Ahle Kitab?
Well, they're Ahl Kitab. They're Ahl Kitab, but their shirk is not like the shirk of people. They're of people who idol worship, obviously, because at the time that Quran was revealed, Nabi
Mm-hmm.
sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there. So there were mushrikeen who clearly said, they worship idols, and there were Christians who were not idol worshippers, but they believed that Jesus was Ibnullah, that
Mm-hmm.
Jesus was the Son of God. So they believed
Mm-hmm.
that, but still, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam considered them Ahlul Kitab, and they had a preference over mushrikeen, over idol worshippers. So,
Mm-hmm.
in a true sense, yes, a person who says God as a son or God
Mm-hmm.
appeared in the form of Jesus, this is shirk. Of course, this is not a true identity of God and true attribute of Allah Ta'ala, of God. He's mistaken there. There's error there, of course. But this shirk is not the same shirk as someone who worships on a piece of idol, right? There are two
Yes.
different categories, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Hassan bhai. Just one more question I wanted to ask you. Thank you for always taking your time to
Sure,
answer
my
me.
pleasure. My pleasure.
So, Hassan bhai, I wanted to ask you about Evil Eye. I
Evil
mean,
eye, yeah.
it personally does not make too much sense to me. But of course, in the matters of religion, unless I find something authentic from Imams, I keep myself open. But uh, what are the like understanding of evil eye according to our Imams, or is it only a Sunni concept? Because I mean, if something is good in me, I mean, is it my fault that another person is just looking at me and I would become in a bad situation just by his look? This doesn't
Oh,
seem so.
absolutely, absolutely. The human, just see the world is very, very complex.
Mm-hmm.
The world, we see just the outer things in the world. Our senses could perceive, but the world is way more complex than what we see and what we understand. So just as I can harm you with my hand could
Mm-hmm.
kill you, or it could hurt you, or could help you. this hand, right? Likewise, my eye, my intentions could hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
could hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And in the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the eye, evil eye, that is true. A person could be harmed by evil eye. So there are du'as in our books for evil eye. Yeah, so this is true. But how it does it do? I don't know how it happens, right? I can understand if a person comes and chokes you with his hand and he stops you
Yeah.
breathing, right? That's we see it. But what's the
Okay.
effect of the eye, right? If
Mm-hmm.
I just look at something with just a very evil vibe in me, I could have some, like today in this modern parlance, we say, okay, I'm casting a bad energy, right? Evil energy. I cast an evil energy, that bad vibe, that evil energy would cause some misery, some pain, something in
Okay.
that thing. How does it work? I don't know, but it is true. It's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, does it like also include a person? There could be a person who might be a expert on black magic or something. Like
Oh,
it's not
black
only.
magic is something else. Black magic is something else. So black magic is
Okay.
true also. So black magic is
Okay.
also there are talismans, and there are things people can do to
That
harm
I
you.
also
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. These are true. Islam believes in that, and Quran believes in that. And there's a hadith here I'm reading that Jibreel came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is very sad. Jibreel asked, "Why are you sad?" He said, "Inna al-Hasanayn alayhim as-salam asabathuma ayn." The evil eye has harmed Hassan and Hussein alayhim as-salam. And then he said, "Ya Muhammad, al-aynu haqqun fa'awwidhuma bihadhi al-awdha." Ya Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the evil eye is true. Evil eye can harm you. So give them protection with this dua. Then he gave a dua to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So you recite this dua. Yeah.
So Hassan bhai, can you tell us this dua? Just I'll look it up. Just if you can name the dua, because
Yeah, I can put in the comment for you. Okay, I'll put in the comment. I'll put it now. Sure. I'll put in the chat. Yeah, you can the dua. I'll put in the chat. Yeah, that you can read this dua.
Perfect.
Yeah. Let me copy, and then I'm going to paste it. Okay, let me go to chat now. Okay, and then you can look up in the chat replay. You should see it.
Sure, I'll do that.
Inshallah. One moment here. Yeah. Why it didn't go? Let me see it one more time. I don't know. Maybe there's too many words. This dua is long. If it doesn't go, then I think I'll make it two sentences. Okay, 2 lines. The dua, because I think it's not going because I think it's too long. Okay.
I look up the remaining online. So.
Yeah. Okay. Let me divide it in 2 lines here in Word. Microsoft Word is good. Okay, that's the first line I went through. Okay, now the second. Okay, it's there. Okay, now in live chat you can see it. Let me pick up this phone call. Okay, go ahead. You keep talking, brother.
So I should keep on talking, or?
Yeah, go ahead. 702 area code. Just wait for your turn. Okay, 702. Yes, brother. You have anything else?
Just a small question about music.
Music, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, according to like wisdom of our imams, so they.
So music is not prohibited. Okay, music, just music, any music. No.
Okay.
That music which is very, very appropriate for gatherings of debauchery, gatherings where people get drunk and use drugs and dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Girls and boys, they are indecent and they are using drugs and they're drinking, and that kind of music is prohibited. Just if someone has a good voice, he's singing something, that's not prohibited. If he's playing a tool or something, that's not prohibited. But if that music is appropriate for such occasions where people get together and commit debauchery, then that type of music is prohibited. Yeah.
So in itself, for example, I like rock music, and it's some of it is really not about like adultery or anything. It's just about just an energy, I would say. And many times I'm appreciating.
So I don't know what rock music is, but I don't know. But really, I don't know. But when people ask me what's your favorite music, I don't know what to say because I don't know music names or so. But but that's the definition. That's the if you go to ahadith, the gist of ahadith with regard to music would be that which I mentioned to you. Yeah.
That explains the things very perfectly. Thank you so much.
May Allah bless you. Allah keep you well. Thank you, brother. I wish you success in your studies. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, brother. Now I have this caller from Nevada, I think. Okay, Nevada. Assalamu alaikum. Are you there?
Assalamu alaikum, Ustaz.
Alayka assalam wa rahmatullah. What's your name?
My name is Mustafa.
Mustafa. You calling from Vegas?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what can I do for you, Mustafa? It's hot. It must be hot there, right?
It is dry hot, yes. It's not like California, definitely not.
Well, some parts of California are very hot too.
Yes, Central California.
Yeah. Okay.
So the ayah of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum, on the day of Ghadir. Is this the last ayah of Quran? If this is, then when was the Al-Ma'arij was Nuzul?
So we don't say that this was the last verse.
Okay.
اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم. It does not mean that this was the last verse. Today is the completion of religion, perfection, not completion, but perfection. Ikmal means perfection. Yeah. So there was a big shortcoming in religion because if Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam passes away, who is going to fulfill his duties? Who is going to carry on the duties of leadership? Now that flaw has been made for, that vacuum has been filled with Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, religion has been made perfect. Yeah. So no, after that verses came, yeah.
And another question on Abu Bakr's childhood.
Okay.
I read and I heard, and I just can't find it anymore to reference back to that, is Abu Bakr's father, working in the restaurant back then, used to, excuse my language.
Restaurant. Not quite, but anyways.
But he, to my research, that Abu Bakr's father, Osman, used to, I'm going to use profanity over here, so please excuse me, used to pimp his son out during the time of Jahiliyyah. Is that accurate?
No, he did not. No, he didn't pimp his son, but he worked at a brothel. Abu Bakr's father worked at a brothel, and he worked. His duties included to stand on the highway, and because Mecca was a business town, a merchant town, it was on the highway, and the caravans that would go from Rome to India through Yemen, and Yemen to Rome, to Syria in Rome, Eastern Roman Empire, they would pass through Mecca. So, and a lot of people would just come for pilgrimage, right? The Arabs would come there to perform pilgrimage, even in Jahiliyyah. So because he worked at the brothel, his duties included to stand on the highway and bring customers. So he did not pimp his son. He used to bring customers to the brothel. Yeah. Now maybe it's very possible that his son would come and help him, right? That would be common at the time, I think. We could assume that happened often when Abu Bakr was younger, and maybe even when he was older. That happened often, but that he pimped his son. No, I've not seen any evidence for that.
But do we have any references to similar material?
Of course, yeah.
Regarding Mr. Abu Bakr.
Yeah. If you go to my speeches in Farsi, in Urdu, I've mentioned this time and again. Yeah, and the interesting thing is, after Hijrah, they came. These people from Mecca, they came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they sought permission to start pimping in Medina. Right after migration. They said, life is so tough here, we don't have any business. Please allow us to pimp our women, our wives. And we start brothels here in Medina. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not allow it, obviously. Yeah.
Obviously, alhamdulillah. Mm-hmm. Can I ask one last question, if you don't mind? Sure. I read, I just can't find the reference, that Khalid bin Walid, during the time of Abu Bakr's Khilafah, he got really mad at Omar, and he almost pulled the sword out to chop Omar's head off, and he called him son of a dancer, son of a stripper. Do you recall reading anything like as such?
Khalid ibn Walid said to Omar, or Omar said to Khalid?
No, Khalid to Omar.
Yeah, he said the son of a bad woman, not really a dancer, but from what I recall is they called each other names, and the son of a bad woman, a woman of low character. But I don't recall calling him the son of a dancer.
What is the reference to that? Can you recall it from the top of your
head? Khalid, I'll tell you now. Khalid, Abu Bakr, Omar. One moment. I could find it for you.
Thank you.
Well, I cannot find it right now. I'm sorry. I've forgotten. I cannot find it. Okay.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll check again later. But thanks for confirming it.
Oh, sure. You take care. Okay. Thank you, Murtaza. You take care. Goodbye. Okay. Who is here with us? What time is it? 1:15. Okay, I'll take Satya now. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, brother? Oh, let me. Okay. How are you, inshallah? You good?
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. What about you, Sheikh?
Good, good. Not bad. Thank you, sir. May Allah bless you.
So, today's topic is Islamic revolutions. So,
Yeah.
can I ask about? I'll ask about Islamic revolutions and revolutions. Before that, I want to ask that. Can I ask about taqleed also?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. So, before coming to the topic of taqleed, I would like to ask you that what's the literal meaning of taqleed? Many of us misunderstand about taqleed.
So, qallada is either qallada is some necklace or a collar of an animal that you put on an animal's neck and pull it. So that's qallada. So taqleed would mean, literally would mean that you put a collar on your neck, so somebody pulls you and you follow him. That's what taqleed would mean. Follow, to blindly follow somebody. That's taqleed would mean. Yeah, taqleed means to follow someone because he put a collar on your neck. Yeah, that's basically taqleed means, to put a collar on your neck. Yeah. Even if you put a sword that has a belt on it on your neck, that's called qallattu sayfan. I put the belt on my neck, on my neck. So if this is my neck, I put the belt of the sword here, so the sword hangs on through from my neck. That's taqleed sayf. Taqleed is to hang a collar around your neck. That's the literal meaning. Now, and why it's called taqleed, to follow a mushrik is called taqleed, because you follow him blindly. He can pull you any direction he wants, right? Because it's like you have put his obedience and the compliance to his edicts upon yourself, like you would put a collar in your neck so he could pull you. Yeah. So it's a figurative usage in this case. Yeah.
So there are we got two riwayat about taqleed. One of them is وَمَنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْفُقَهَاءِ صَائِنًا لِنَفْسِهِ حَافِظًا لِدِينِهِ مُخَالِفًا عَلَى هَوَاهُ مُطِيعًا لِأَمْرِ مَوْلَاهُ لِلْعَوَامِ أَنْ يَقَلِّدُوهُ. This is the first one.
Yeah.
Another one is in Tashih al-I'tiqadat, the Shaykh al-Mufid rahmatullah alayhi, page number 72, that إياكم والتقليد فإنه من قلد في دينه هلك إن الله تبارك وتعالى يقول إن الله تبارك وتعالى يقول the ayah, I don't remember it. Okay, this was
the verse
the hadith. Okay, then Imam al-Sadiq, then Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says the Jews and Christians, they all ويحل لهم حراما وحرموا لهم حلالا, right?
Okay.
فقلدوهم في فعبدوهم وهم لا يشعرون. This is the hadith.
So
yeah, the ayah was اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانا
اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانا أربابا من دون الله. But yeah. Okay, so what's the question? What's your question? Yeah, you open. Your mic is not muted from here. Your mic is open. You muted yourself. I'm not. You're not muted on my side. Okay, let me answer to you what you quoted. The first hadith, فأما من كان من الفقهاء صائن لنفسه حافظا لدينه مخالفا لهواه مطيعا لأمر مولاه فللعوام أن يقلدوه. Taqleed here means to take narration without any reservation, without any skepticism. When a common man takes a narration by trusting the narrator, so that would be called taqleed. In this instance, that's what taqleed is. So why I'm saying that? Because this is part of a long hadith. long hadith in the kitab of tafsir of Imam al-Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, before this usage, uses taqleed 2 or 3 times before this. And all those instances, he's talking about accepting narrations from a narrator. Accepting narrations from a narrator without questioning, without skepticism, and just taking him with trust. So that has been called taqleed here. Qabul al-hadith. Taking narrations in a hadith, not taking a fatwa. So which narrators, common people, this is not for ulama, common people, accept narrations from which type of narrator? Because many people have said this is a hadith, follow this, right? So which type of a narrator? The common folks who cannot read books, they should take hadith from. Imam alayhi salam said people who have 4 qualities. Those 4 qualities, Imam alayhi salam explained in this hadith. Okay, that's taqleed. The second hadith that you narrated, that's about taqleed. Taqleed to follow the fatwa, the edicts of people. But إياكم والتقليد فإنكم من قلد في دينه هلك. A person who carries out taqleed in religion, he is destroyed. That taqleed here is the following the edicts when the people make halal, haram, and you follow them. That's the fatwa, following fatwa. So taqleed in these 2 hadith have been used in different senses, and that's very common, even in English language or Hindi language or Urdu language. One word could be used in 5 different instances in different senses. So one word could have 5 different meanings in 5 different sentences, and the context establishes for the listener, for the audience, and for the speaker what that word means in that instance. And that doesn't cause any ambiguity. And this is very, very common. For instance, the word see. I see you with my eyes. See. I went to the sea to have an excursion. Both are see, right? See and see. I see you. I went to the sea. I wrote C. I wrote the letter C. So all these are C, but they mean totally different things. And context establishes what I meant by these. And you can find so many other examples like this. Okay, brother.
Okay.
You have another question?
So we got this hadith. وَمَنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْفُقَهَاءِ صَائِنًا لِلنَّفْسِ. We got this from the book Tafsir al-Imam al-Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. So
Yes.
What about the authenticity of that book? Is it truly from Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, or it is just mansoob ilay?
No, it's very credible, yeah.
Authentic?
Yes, sir. Credible, yeah.
Okay. So another question is, as per we use the word Sayyid for all of the children of Lady Fatima Zahra, I would like to ask you that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it is in Kanzul Fawaid, قال لي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي أنت أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين يا علي أنت سيد الوصيين. This is the riwayah where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says Sayyid for Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. In another hadith, I heard it from you that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said Ana Sayyid al-Arab wa Aliyun Sayyid al-Ajam. Okay. I heard another hadith. Anyone asked Imam about the word Sayyid. So Imam says Sayyid means our Mawla, the one who has the guardianship on us. Okay. So is it permissible to use the word Sayyid for a person who is non-ma'soom? May he be from the children of Lady Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, or anyone. And similarly, you use the word
What's the
Ayatullah
question?
for Wahi.
Sayyid what?
Is it is it okay to use word Sayyid for anyone else than Masumin alayhi salam?
Yeah, why not? What's wrong with that?
Here, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that
you are
I am the Sayyid of Arab.
You are the Lord of all Muslims, but it doesn't mean you cannot use Sayyid for other people. In a hadith, but Sayyid has been used for other people also. There are many instances used Sayyid for a person who owns a slave, his Sayyid. Yeah. There's no prohibition against that. In a hadith, Rasulullah, Ashhadu annaka Abdullahi wa Rasul. You cannot call other people Abdullah now. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq al-Islam is laqab al-Sadiq. So you cannot call any other person Sadiq now. Yeah.
So, another question is, you say the word Ayatullah or Wahid Khurasani, and
that's
so
okay.
many.
وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ اخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. Allah has many ayat. Ayat, every person is an ayah. This cup is ayah. Everything is an ayah. Okay? That's okay. There's no prohibition. It's not forbidden to call someone else Ayatullah. Sign of God. There are many signs of God. Everything is a sign of God. Yeah.
Yes, even Saturn himself also sign of Allah.
Yeah. Everything is a sign of Allah. Yeah. Yeah.
Should
Every makhluk is a sign of Allah. Everything that Allah has created signifies and indicates and suggests that it has a creator. Yeah.
So should we, if anything, everything is ayat of Allah, then can we say Iblis and Satan, even Umar ibn al-Khattab as Ayatullah?
Yeah, you cannot say in respect, but yes, everything, because Umar could not exist if Allah had not created him. Shaitan had not existed if Allah had not created him.
So, is it, let me show you, let me tell you one of the hadith. It is Hadith al-Tariq in the book Nahjul Asrar. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. So, Tariq is one of the narrators of the Umaris. And that book, that doesn't have any source. That Khutbat al-Tariq, that is from the book of Mashariq wa Anwar al-Yaqeen. And he is a ghali, and he does not give any reference where he got it from. Okay?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally unreliable.
Okay, sir. The last question is that you said that Imam alayhi salam prohibited his Shias to take part in any of the revolutionary acts, any of the revolution, any of the fight.
Yeah.
So I consider it to be inqilab ad-diniyah, the religious revolution. But if anyone fights for his country, suppose we fought in the time of Britishers for independence, and in today's era also, if any.
So that's a prohibited. Shias are not allowed to take part in the revolutions. Okay, if British were ruling and you want to replace British with Nehru and Muhammad Ali Jinnah, I think British were better for you guys, for India. That's my opposite. Before the British, India was never a united country. For the first time in its history, the British united all of India, Bengal, and Sri Lanka, and current day Pakistan, and Nepal. All these countries came under one roof, British. Before that, India was just a big region, a subcontinent, never a country. And British were bad for India. Maybe they were bad, but I don't think Nehru was any better either, or Congress was any better. If British had stayed, who knows? It might have been better for you. Yeah. And Pakistan was created, and millions of people died, and partition happened. Is that good? I don't know. Maybe it's better, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
No, actually the question was, if we fight against any ruler who is trying to oppress people or to commit genocide.
Like British did not were not trying to commit genocide in India.
I'm not talking about British, but I'm talking about today's regime in any
If
our
that
country.
happens in a place, see, that's not everywhere. Governments are usually they do commit oppression. Governments do make mistakes. There are people, always there are bad people in governments, and they abuse their power, that's for sure. But they are not all the same. Some governments are more oppressive, some governments are less oppressive. So if you live under a government which is so abusive that it is going to come after you and kill you and without any reason just massacre you, then of course you're permitted to defend yourself, of course. But that doesn't happen if you usually is the case that if you don't bother with them, they don't come after you. If you're just living your life, even if you're in North Korea, right? If you don't agitate against them, they're not going to come after you. They're going to come after you because they're busy doing their work and running the country and having a good time. They don't just come after you because they dislike you. They come after you because they have to. So, but it's possible that a government comes after you just because they hate you, right? At that time, yeah, you can defend yourself.
Likewise, the genocide in Parachinar against Shias. Mm-hmm. So many of us want to fight with Umaris and make our personal team. I'm not from
if
their
someone
country,
wants to go there, absolutely. That's not an uprising against the government. See, that's a place Shias are surrounded by Takfiri groups, Takfiri militias. So if you want to go there, help the Shias there, absolutely. Be my guest. That's a good thing to do. Absolutely. I'm with you.
Okay.
That's not a revolt against the government. Yeah. That's not, nobody's taking arms in Parachinar against the Pakistani government, Pakistani army. As a matter of fact, Shias love in Parachinar, the Pakistani government to come in Parachinar and provide protection, right? So, of course, the wars in Parachinar, the clashes in Parachinar are not with the government. Yeah. Okay, brother. Any other question?
Okay. Yes, my request, not a question, just a request, inshallah. Requesting you to make a short video about Parachinar genocide in Arabic, Farsi, and English, so the world may know what's happening with the Shias in Parachinar, because Iranian government is.
I'm waiting for Sistani. I'm waiting for Sistani to make a video in Arabic.
Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. He issued every time something happens in Palestine, Sistani issues many statements about Palestine. I'm waiting for him to issue a verdict about Parachinar, inshallah. Okay, I have Hafiz, brother Hafiz Al-Alawi here again. Assalamu alaikum, brother Hafiz. Thank you for coming back.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Sorry for the interruptions earlier.
Oh, sure.
Actually, I just got some interruptions with my network, actually.
No
Alhamdulillah,
problem.
I'm back.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, you're back.
Actually, I've got a request from a friend of mine.
Yes.
Very, very good friend, actually. What we do, we always recite and read more of ahadith Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam.
Yeah.
And we have started with the Kitab Ilal al-Shara'i'. We have read it.
Mm-hmm.
We started with the Kitab al-Tawheed, and we have the list. We wanted to be, all the time read. But he actually requested from me, it's a personal request. He said, I should give you this message.
Sure.
You heard, and I think it came since you defended the methodology of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, and truthful, how upright it is, how solid it is. He said ever since he started listening from scholars all over, he couldn't got much more enlightened than those series of lectures by yours. So alhamdulillah, he was very happy. He was very happy. And I said, inshallah, I will tell you. And before we continue, Shaykhana.
Thank you. Give him my salam, inshallah. I'm glad that I was of help to him. Yeah.
Inshallah. Next time I will try for him to also join with us, inshallah. Also, yes. I had another request from Arabian friend. He's in Saudi Arabia, Abdullah. He also requested that, inshallah, if you can continue your lectures in Arabic language. Inshallah. People are there waiting, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yes, and with our topic, the concept of uprising against government.
Yeah.
I think Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam wanted us all the time to stay away from such tribulations, all the way to be free and to practice our religion as we could. I think that's the best Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam is provided for us.
Yeah.
But my question here, can we try our best to constitute some concept or some institutions that, or some organizations that will be able to at least cater for followers of Ahlul Bayt, or strengthen Ahlul Bayt, followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, or to strengthen itself in the eyes of the world, so that at least it will remain a shelter for the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. You know, we mustabsirun, we always have that beam. We always have that energy to see the betterment of our followers, to see the betterment of the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, how Shias will be relieved from injustices that is happening, occurring all the world. Like, are we allowed to constitute a system or to bring out an organization that will be able to at least help the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam globally?
Of course, Quran says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. If there's an organization that's truly trying to serve the Shia and promote the cause of Shia and defend the rights of Shia in different countries or in one region, it's absolutely not only permissible, but one should try to help them out, either by joining them or from outside their organization to encourage them to join them. But one has to pay attention that it has to be truly so, because not everyone or every organization that claims to be serving the Shia, they're actually serving Shia. So if there are not too many organizations like that in the world, but if there are, and probably there are organizations like that, but if there is one in your region, or there's a global organization as such that's dedicated to protect Shia or promote Shiism or help out the Shia in different regions, absolutely.
Yep.
As long as that organization is not engaging in anything that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam have prohibited. If that organization is trying to wage jihad or confront governments, that is not right. Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wasalam have not allowed us to do. But if there's an organization that wants to lobby for Shia's rights, for instance, in Nigeria or in India or somewhere, they want to pressure the government and talk with the government in order to reform itself and treat Shias better, or some other way, why not? It would be a good idea to form such organizations and to join such organizations or even support such organizations. Absolutely. So, because there's nothing in a hadith that prohibits such a thing. Yeah. And of course,
someone someone in the comment section just read, I should just tell them situation of the Shias in Nigeria. As in Nigeria, actually, we have campuses. But the problem is dominantly communities, and unfortunately, what they are thinking is all the time is revelation. It's about revelation. All the time is revolution. Just like to do what Iran did. That is the main situation.
I think my impression is, if in Algeria, in Nigeria, if you did not have the Quds rally, Quds Day rally, which is very stupid. I don't think it's very appropriate for Shias in Nigeria to have Quds Day rally. It doesn't help anything. If you did not engage in such activities, and if the Nigerian government did not see you as pawns of Iran and as agents of Iran trying to promote Iranian policies and Iranian objectives in Africa, I don't think they had problems with you. I think they're sensitive with Shia just because of Quds Day and because certain sheikhs in your community, the elder sheikh, poor guy, he himself also saw a lot of trouble. His sons were killed. So I think that was a big deal. I think that was not appropriate for the Shia and didn't help the Shia in Nigeria. Please go ahead.
Yeah. It's always because they clash with the government. The government, they love this power. They love all of it. So once you come near it, you understand, definitely it will close that. It will bring about such kind of commotions. All the time, they come out, they march, they do this. But if you notice on the other side, we are actually, there are some chances for us to come out and to promote our religion, the way we can do it, our best, and that's the best, and in the current situation in Nigeria, you see that no mosques, until now, at this very, in this 21st centuries, no mosque that they used to, call adhan with the shahada thalitha, ashhadu anna aliyan waliyullah, even if there are very few, you understand. But if you go to the neighboring countries, I've gone to Ghana, countries like Ghana, you see that they have some awareness, they have such kind of mosques, they have institutions, they're a little bit liberal, and all this, all this repercussion, as a repercussion of what these kind of movements is bringing, clashing with the government, creating threat. The government all the time think we are threat to them. That's why they try to crush. That's why they try to do the injustice. You understand? Yeah. And had it been they haven't had or sensed this kind of threat from us, I think they would allow us to do our religion as the way we do it. Yes.
Yeah. May Allah bless you. Allah keep you all, Shaykhana. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. Yes, brother.
One last question, sir.
Sure, please.
Okay. How about the joining of politics, for instance, and trying to bring some alleviation or for the Shia communities or Ahlul Bayti followers?
Yeah.
How do you look at that, for instance?
To get engaged in politics, that's not forbidden. What we do in politics, what do politicians do? They either take votes to become a member of a parliament, right? That's what they do. Or they become part of a government. They either become a minister or a regional governor, or they become a prime minister or president. So in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam, being part of a government is not haram. But it's an error that has a kafara. It's an error that has a kafara. The kafara is to help out Shias. In a hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, even at that time, Shias used to work for governments. So Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam allowed them to work for governments. But kafaratu khidmat al-sultan, kafaratu ujrat al-sultan, something like that. Khidmat al-ikhwan. The kafara for working for government, it's an error that has to be compensated. The compensation would be to serve the Shia. So if you become a prime minister or minister or president, or you become the regional governor, or you become an advisor in the local government, or you become a mayor of a city or police chief, all of that is allowed. One thing is you cannot do the dhulm on anyone. As Shia, that's not allowed. You cannot oppress, even if someone is not Muslim. Doesn't matter if someone is doesn't follow your religion. You cannot oppress anyone. You have to be kind and just to everybody, and then especially to Shias. If a Shia comes to you and he has a problem, then you have to solve it. You cannot rest. You cannot sleep until you solve that Shia's problem that he has come to you. So that's what you have to do. So absolutely, you can work for the government at different levels, provided with this condition, that you do not engage in dhulm. So if I work in the government, and my job is, for instance, to torture people, my job is to torture. There are a lot of people who work for the government, their job is to torture, or their job is to hang people, or their government asks them to do things that are not ethical, that are haram. So I cannot do that. I have to give up the job. I cannot work in the job for 1 minute. I have to resign. But if I work for the government, it's not. I don't oppress anybody. I work for the Ministry of Electricity, for instance, university, for the university, or medical, Ministry of Health, or the President's office. Absolutely, you can work, but you have to serve the Shia. Yeah.
Okay, Sheikhana, and this is a suggestion actually.
Yeah.
Can we have like a global, a setting up of a school that really determines and concentrates of the teaching of, a hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, where we'll be able to at least have a way to promote, the teachings, and especially what we have learned from you so much, those kind of things. Like, it's a suggestion actually. Can we have that institution?
Yeah, that's. I think that's very, very important to have. Yeah, we should have.
If you can do that, I think we should. Maybe we categorize the levels of ahadith, for beginners and for intermediaries and for the advanced. I think if we can do that, I can all the time start, and can think how.
Inshallah.
About something.
That's a very good idea. Inshallah. We should do that. Allah, may Allah bless you. Allah keep you all. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother Hafiz. Thank you so much. Okay, that was a very good call, illuminating call. I thank all of you, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much. And I think that was okay. Brother Hussein is here. How are you doing, brother Hussein? Let's take him, and then we'll end the day here. Hussein. Assalamu alaikum, brother Hussein.
Assalamu alaikum, Ya Ali Madad.
Ya Ali Madad, Ya Ali Madad. Good, very good. Thank you so
Sheikh
much.
Hassan bhai, good. Alhamdulillah.
May Allah keep you well, and Allah give you good health always, inshallah.
Thank you, Ameen. Brother Sheikh Hassan bhai, so to expand Hafiz Alavi's brother Hafiz, expand on his last point there, just a couple general questions, and then I'll be on my way. But it was with regards to, I had a discussion with a Pakistani friend of mine, and we know all the politics, and they've killed all their political leaders, and they've ousted them, and all types of. They're blaming a lot of that on American policies. And me, I grew up in America, first generation. It boggles my mind. How are we supposed to live when we're under a government that is separate state and religion, right? So we're living in America. We don't necessarily have control over American politics internationally. And to quite simply put that all of Pakistan's problems are because of America, that kind of felt very stupid to me, because there's 260 million people in Pakistan. So it doesn't make sense. So my question really is, as Shias, how do we live under a government that we understand that our actual government, our guidance is Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, and that's who our allegiance is to, and that's how we want to follow on their words, on their path. But again, we still have to live in this world in different countries and boundaries, rules and regulations. Is there some sort of hadith and guidance on how we're supposed to live our lives?
So,
and you have talked about this.
Going back to your points, that in Muslim countries it's very common that they blame for everything. They blame the West, America especially, and I think that's not very justified. And maybe in some instances that's true. That is true, but that's minor instances, not all instances. I think especially in the case of Pakistan and countries like Pakistan, the politicians are very corrupt. And the government is very corrupt. Everybody's corrupt. Everybody's trying to steal almost. Like if somebody's not stealing and is not dishonest, that's rare. Everybody's expected to try to steal, try to cheat, try to take a cut for himself. And they blame everything on America. While you see themselves, and if that's your country and that's the character of your politicians and your leaders and everybody in the government and the private sector, the same thing. Nobody's honest there, right?
Yeah.
And then you blame America. I don't think, maybe America is a small hand and in your misery, but a lot of it has to do with your own policies, with your own things, the way you do things. So there's a lot of this America bashing in Muslim countries, but I don't really share that sentiment myself.
Are we encouraged in the Hadith to vote and support any government?
Voting, supporting a government? No, there's no religious obligation.
I guess my question is, how do we live? How do we live? Like right now, we're going to have the elections here in America.
I think as a Shia Muslim living in America is very, very fortunate and easy, I think, than many other places, because here you have the freedom. You don't have to do anything to live here, really. You just have to work, make money. You have to, that's a blessing. Yeah. You don't have to do anything special. You just have to earn a respectful earning and so you could support your family and then just practice your religion. Nobody forces you to do anything. Yeah, there are laws in the society that we do not. There are laws in the society that we don't agree with, of course, but nowhere in the world is ideal. This country is a lot better than many other places. In this country, there's a protection of law. The law looks at you and a person of different religion in the same eye. You go to Pakistan, that's not the same. You go to Saudi Arabia,
that's not the case.
That's not the same. You in Saudi Arabia try to pray. In Medina, you try to pray in the house of Nabi. In the house of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you try to pray. See how they treat you. It's very terrible. Very terrible. Yeah. I think living here in the United States is much better than all Islamic countries. Really, that's fortunate for me to say, and unfortunate for me to say.
And we can practice our religion.
Yeah,
we can practice our religion freely.
Yeah,
I think that is a very big thing. You also have,
and then you can speak up your mind. I think it's a great blessing, and great blessing in the United States. Now I can sit here behind this mic and say, according to my conscience and my research, what I'm pleased to say, right? What I want to say. Nobody is going to come in and stop me here. The government that you cannot say this and that. Try to do that in Saudi Arabia or Pakistan or in Iran. Try that and see what happens to you. So I think the United States, for us Shias living here, it's second to none, really. I really love it for that matter. And it's a great country.
So we're not supposed to
Brother Hussein, one more thing, and I'm going to be bashed for this, and I don't care. To me, America is this beautiful country of beautiful mountains, beautiful rivers.
It is.
Virgin forests, these waterfalls of pristine, clear water, and good people, hardworking people.
And
right?
People are very nice. Agreed.
People,
Christians,
these
Jews,
honest people,
all
in America,
they're very nice.
In America, it's very frowned upon to lie. You're not expected to lie. A person could be Christian, he could be atheist, but he's not going to lie. He's going to be honest. In Muslim countries, you go, everybody's lying to you. From taxi driver you go to the store to buy, to the restaurant, to the office. You go. Everybody's lying. Everybody's cheating. And
it
if
felt
you look
really
at
bad when they
one other important point that we should not forget, that in the last 70, 80 years, the role of America in the Muslim world, there was Soviet Union next door to Pakistan and India, which was a massive superpower, an atheist superpower, which was ready to devour Pakistan and devour Iran and conquer all these lands. There's one power stopping them, and they were not able. Today, you'd be speaking Russian in Pakistan, if not for the United States. It was the United States. Iran would have become part of the Soviet Union, if not for the United States. People have forgotten how massive, how terrifying
that was.
The communist Soviet Union in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, they were. Absolutely. The world was divided between these two powers, right? The Eastern Bloc and Western Bloc. Western Bloc was better, of course. There was freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And there was the Eastern Bloc, the Soviet Union, where you were not allowed to talk. You were not allowed to think different than the government. And mosques were banned. Masajid were banned in the Soviet Union. There were many countries inside the Soviet Union, Muslim majority, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan. These countries, they were not masajid. If you were a young man, you're not allowed to go to masjid. Only people 50 and above, old people were allowed to go in masjid. So, and people were not allowed to practice their religion. And then people were forced to learn Russian and speak in Russian and all that. And the Soviet Union tried so many times. You know, in 1908, 1911, I forgot. Russian army entered Iran in Mashhad. They bombarded Imam Reza alayhi salam's shrine. You could search online and see the old pictures. Bombardment of Mashhad by Russians.
Communists.
Especially the dome of Imam Reza alayhi salatu wasalam. It was damaged. And they attacked and bombarded with heavy artillery the shrine of Imam Reza alayhi salam. And they would have conquered. So first, during that time, it was not the USA, it was the British Empire. They saved Iran. Iran would have been conquered by Russia, by the Tsar. Today, Iranians would be speaking Russian, of course, like Azerbaijanis, they speak today Russian. All of them speak Russian. They speak Russian better than Azeri. And then was British Empire. They at that time, I forgot his name, the prime minister. They made a pact with Russia that they were not going to invade Iran. And then after that, it was when the British Empire collapsed and disintegrated. It was the United States that saved Iran and Pakistan in these countries. But of course, the United States has played also a negative role. Many of its policies have harmed these countries. Of course, we don't deny that. I don't deny that. But also, we should not forget that there are a lot of problems in these countries because of the local population, because of the local politicians, and how they treat their own people, how our governments and our rulers treat their own citizenry. They don't have respect for their own citizens. They treat them bad, and they are incompetent, and they are corrupt, and they cannot run the economy. At the end of the day, they blame everything on others, on outsiders. So that's my 2 cents there. Perhaps I'm wrong. So this is not the area of my expertise. These are just my impressions. Yeah.
No, I agree with you on your non-area of expertise, but I agree. I think we have very similar views of how this is. But my main to follow up and expand on that question is, how do we live our lives if the governments are batil and we understand that they're not representing Mullah alayhi salam, and do we just choose the area of the world that is the best and provides the most freedom for us to live our lives and work trying to be part of that region of the world? Do you kind of understand my question? Like, if someone is born into Pakistan, they want to promote Pakistan values and they want to try to fix Pakistan. Okay, that's understandable. That's not happening, and we've seen for the last 70 years that it hasn't been happening. What is someone to do as a Shia that's living there? Like, what is their guidance for them to live their lives? Is it to live under taqiyya and essentially how they did in the past?
Nobody has to live in Pakistan forever. If somebody wants to move out, if the situation demands, right? If he thinks that if I move to, let's say, Kuwait, or move to Dubai, or move to Europe or the United States or Canada or somewhere, some other country or Australia, I can practice my religion and I can live a more decent life. Of course, that's allowed. That's in fact encouraged. And migration is the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If one place your life is miserable and you think your life would be better in another region, of course you're allowed. There's no discouraging against that in religion. As your question, how should we live our life? I think wherever you are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only demands from you what you can. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not obligated us to perform that which we cannot or is difficult for us to perform. And there is taqiyya in religion, which is a great blessing, Anytime that religion does not ask you to put yourself at risk, to put yourself or in your family at peril, and to take and to suffer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to live decently and comfortably. If any time there's a religious ruling that restricts your progress or that puts you in peril, then you can do taqiyya, or you can migrate. So it's pretty Shia religion is pretty lenient and flexible, and I think you can go anywhere in the world in some form. It could be practiced. Of course, some countries will be difficult. If you want to go to North Korea, of course, it'd be very, very difficult to live there and practice Shia Islam. But who wants to go to North Korea, right? But in most countries, it is practicable. The only challenge that comes, I think, is raising your family and raising your kids Islamically.
Yeah.
That is a challenge. That's not easy, but that could be done. That could be done by reading to them, by having after school classes, or if you're living in a part of a bigger community, then
watching
you can
your
have
videos.
Community could thank you. You can have a community school, right? That's so helpful. So if families get together, start a part-time madrasa or a weekend madrasa or a full-time school, depending how much you guys can afford. Those things could be done. Yeah, all that could be done.
You spoke with Brother Hafiz on the last topic, but I guess my question is the being involved politically, right? Our right to vote and being involved in the government. Let's say we have a governmental job, and the kafara is to help our brothers and sisters first and foremost. Is this also the case as we live our daily lives as regular, just non-governmental people? Is this hukum from Ahl Bayt alayhi salam for us to always prefer and help our Shia brothers and sisters first?
So relieving the need of a Shia, that's very important in teachings of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. So if a needy Shia comes to you with a problem, you have to, whatever his need is, genuine need is, you should try. Yeah, if he's coming for a loan, or he needs a ride to a doctor, or some other problem. People have different problems, right? You have to try. You do your best to solve his problem for him. That's absolutely a very, very strong obligation that Shias have towards each other. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Hassan. May Allah bless you, keep you well. Thank you. Okay. See you next time. Ya Ali Madad. Thank you so much. I have one last caller, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, here we go, brother. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, brother?
Wa alaikum assalam. Yes, Hassan Saab, how are you?
Very good. Thank you. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I have two questions. The first question is like there is a hadith like where the Sahaba asked the Imam like if we find a hadith like so how could we know like this hadith these words are your words? So Imam replied like if that hadith match with the Quran, then take it. If it doesn't match with the Quran, then leave it.
Okay.
Yeah. So my question is, if we consider this hadith, so if we go and read the verses of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly said to Prophet in many verses, for example, the hadith, the verse, where Allah told to Prophet, Allah forgive you, repent on yourself. There are many verses where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Prophet, for example, the Surah Abasa, the Surah Abasa, the first 3 verses.
So that's not about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's about Uthman.
No, I know. But my question is, if for example, if a man, he just go and read the Quran, so anyone who doesn't have the knowledge of the hadith, so should we should a person you get my point now?
No, I don't get your point. I don't understand. Can you clarify what you mean?
There are many verses.
Yes, brother. Continue. I cannot hear you. So, okay, I cannot hear you anymore, probably. I don't know what's wrong with your mic. But so if you encounter a hadith that you are not sure, you have reasons to doubt it because the narrator, the book you saw it, is not reliable, right? So somebody says it's that because when Imams alayhim salatu wasalam lived at that time, there were reliable narrators of hadith, truthful books that were reliable. So those are without question. They're reliable. They're good. When you hear those from those people, you see in those books, you accept it. You agree to it. Yeah. Let me finish. So, and there are people who are not reliable. So this hadith that if you see our hadith, take it if it's in accord with Quran, it's consistent with Quran. That's with regard to those ahadith about which you're not sure. So you see those ahadith in books that are not reliable, such as the book of, for instance, Mashariq Anwar al-Yaqeen, or the book of Kashf al-Ghumma. These books, the books that are not reliable, Jami al-Akhbar, these, you see a hadith and you're not sure this is the saying of Imam alayhi salam or not. So you search for the evidence for this hadith. Is it supported by Quran? Is it supported by other hadith? If you find evidence, then yes, take it. So that's with that regard. Okay. However, this rule does not apply to books that are reliable. That any hadith you find in the world, no matter how reliable it is, you have to find that it matches a verse of Noble Quran. No, that's not the requirement. Okay, may Allah bless you. Allah keep you well. Have I answered your question?
Hassan sir.
Yes.
Do me a favor, please.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question in Urdu?
No. This is English show.
No.
You can call me. Later in the week in the Urdu show. Okay. Thank you, sir. May Allah keep
from
you
well. From where can I get your number?
From my channel. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
I'll be on the Zoom. You can come on the Zoom meeting later, inshallah, and ask me in Urdu in the Urdu show. Okay. We had a good time with all of you. Thank you so much for staying with me and watching this show. And special thanks to those brothers and sisters who participated in Super Chat and supported their own channel. And my special thanks to all the callers and all the guests who shown in this show. And shared their insights with us. Thanks to all of you. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma kun li waliyaka al-hujjat ibn al-Hasan. صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا ومعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى. Take care. يا علي مدد.